7:30 p.m. for the purpose of discussing any and all business, including both in-person participation and remote participation in accordance with Chapter 40A of the Massachusetts General Laws and pursuant to the Act extending certain COVID-19 measures with provisions relating to open meeting law. This meeting of the City Council will be conducted via in-person participation as well as by remote participation. Real-time public comment during public hearings can be addressed to the Peabody City Council using the Zoom meeting platform for remote access. Users may view the meeting and make a comment or question to the chair via the audio option. This meeting is being televised live by the Peabody Access Television on Comcast Cable Channel 9 and on RCN Channel 15, as well as being recorded by our City Council stenographer. Let us all please rise for a moment of silence. Would you please now join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move approval of the record, Mr. President.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. We'll now move to items 4, hearings. Clerk will please read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as the special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, September 9, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank Galwigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom on the application from Farm Street Realty Group, LLC, care of the Panis Law Group, 246 Andover Street, Peabody, Mass. I can't breathe. For a special permit seeking use of the property for a motel and hotel use, up to 10 rooms with restaurant and tavern, allowing for outdoor service of food and alcoholic beverages, as referenced on special permit site plan included herewith, and use of the property for 3 one-bedroom apartment dwelling units, as referenced in special permit site plan filed herewith at 2 Washington Street, Peabody, Mass., is filed in accordance with Sections 4, 4.2, 4.2.1, 4.2.5, 5.4.6, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under City Calendar on the homepage or contact the City Clerk's office. Zoom information will not be available until the Friday before the meeting. Peabody City Council, Councilor Mark J. O'Neill, City Council President.
Thank you. Would the applicant or their representative please come to the podium and state your full name and address for the record and give an overview of the request?
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the Peabody City Council. My name is Jason Panos, practicing law at 246 Andover Street, Peabody, Massachusetts, representing the applicant Farm Street Realty Group, LLC. I'm joined by the applicant, proponent, and manager, Mr. Ed Greeley, Julie Daigle, and Peter Ogren of Hayes Engineering. First, a couple of administrative matters, if I may, Mr. President. While you were in executive session, I left you with a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to present tonight, and also some revised plans which primarily relate to reconfiguration of accessible parking at 2 Washington Street.
Excuse me, Attorney Mr. Panos,
Sure.
could you just allow us to...
Mr. President.
Yes.
Councilor McGinn.
Thank you. Move to receive late communications 1, 3, and 6 pertaining to this matter. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Councilor Manny Martin.
Thank you. I just want to find 1, 3, and 6 and see if it's the things that we were sent late a couple days ago that we've all had a chance to look at. So I just want to make sure those are the ones. 1, 3, and 6?
Yeah, point of information, late 1 and late 3, one is from the Health Department and one is a memo from the Panos Law Firm. I believe do I have it right? The next one is the, Councilor McGinn, could you clarify?
6 is a revised version of the site plan that is on your desk and is also part of this package, and also the presentation that they're going to show is part of 6.
Councilor Manny Martin.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
So late 6 we just received tonight, and it's a change in the plan that was posted for the public and accessible to the public prior to this? Is that what's being swapped out tonight?
I'll let the attorney speak to the changes in the plan. If you want to get into that, Council Manning Martin, that would it's probably better coming from them than me.
Panos, could you please discuss
Sure.
late item number 6, please, the plans?
So what I left for you tonight is a full-size version of the plans that were previously circulated by the city clerk. And I'm not sure when those were circulated, perhaps today through the president, if I can ask the city clerk. And they relate to a slight reconfiguration in the parking plan related to accessible parking at 2 Washington Street and location of a dumpster pad at 12 Washington Street.
Excuse me, Mr. Panos,
yes.
could you just clarify?
Yes.
Is the Councilor Manning Martin's question, I believe, was the plan we received tonight,
Yes.
late item 6, is that a new plan or revised plan from the one that was received in the council's agenda and was put out to the public? That's what she's, I believe, asking, if I had that correctly.
It is a new plan from that which was submitted with the application set way back in August.
Does that answer your question, Councilor Manning Martin?
I think we're getting closer. So this late communication that you sent today, Thursday, September 9th at 2:18,
Yes.
attached to the revised plans, Hayes Engineering will bring to the hearing 15 full-size copies of the handout, as well as 3 copy sets will be reserved for me and the development team. The changes affect parking with only a designation of spaces and no net effect on the number of parking spaces, which remains 50. So this revised plan was posted by the clerk in our announcement in weekly news, as we're required to do, for the public to have access to this plan that is in my hand is late 6 on August 26th and September 2nd. Is that the same plan that the public had access to, or has it changed?
It has changed, but it did not change substantively that would require renotice.
Thank you, Mr. Panos. That was just
Yes.
to answer Councilor Manning Martin. So this, to
Yes.
clarify, this is a revised plan from the one that was submitted and distributed to the public.
Yes.
We still have a motion on the floor to, under suspension of rules, to accept late communications 1, 3, and 6.
Yeah, I can't accept it. The public, it's been changed, and that just, we have to notify the public of what we're discussing tonight, and it's been swapped out tonight. It's been swapped out, and the public, we're required to notify the public what's being reviewed. They should have access to it. We can't accept this. This isn't even under council rules that we would be able to
Understood,
accept.
but point of information, I just wanted to clarify you're
Yes, and I'm
rejecting
just-
late 6.
Yep.
Okay. And
Yep, and I'm just explaining to the public and my colleagues and the petitioner what we can and can't do, and we can't do this. You can't swap it out at the last minute like this. Thank you.
The motion is still on the floor to
On the-
receive
on the
late item.
motion-
On the motion, Councilman
On the
McGinn?
motion, just to, because there's 2 things attached to 6, and I just want to make sure Councilor Manning Martin is fully aware of that. It's the plan, the revised plan, as you point out, and the presentation, a hard copy of the presentation that they were planning to make this evening, so that councilors could have that in front of them. So just to be clear,
Thank you.
there's 2 pieces.
Thank
of
you
it.
for that, pointing that out. I don't have any problem with the PowerPoint presentation as that's been planned, and it's a document to assist the council to follow something that was planned to be presented tonight. So I don't have a problem with the PowerPoint document to assist us.
So can I modify the motion?
One moment, Councilman McGinn, please. To clarify, this is a separate document. This is late item number 7. It just wasn't marked as that. So I just, not to complicate things, but the PowerPoint would be late 7. So, sorry, Council McGinn, I just wanted to, we have a lot of paper going on. Is it Council McGinn?
Okay, so the clerk is instructing us that this is late 7. Is that, that's, okay. So the motion would be under suspension of the rules to receive items, late communications 1, 3, and 7. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Mr. Panos, would you like to continue regarding what's going on with the plans? Councilor Rosino.
Thank you, Mr. President. So if we're not receiving late communication 6, and this entire presentation is regarding the application and the building and what it's going to look like and what it's going to act like, how can we even hear the presentation if we don't know what we're really looking at? Because technically we didn't receive it. That's just a question to the council. Thank you.
Council McGinn, I have some thoughts, but Council McGinn, would you like to respond?
Sure, through you to Councilor Rosignol. I think what Attorney Panos was began to explain there was that he used the word that they weren't substantive changes. They were, and I can assure you that they weren't. They were to relocate 3 parking spots and to identify the location of a dumpster. So I mean, I even without looking at the plan, the revised plan, I think that the applicant can take you through the changes on the prior plan, and we can address those changes in the motion. I think that for all intents and purposes, the first version of the plan is still 99% of what it is we need to review this evening. So I personally would feel comfortable going forward with the information that the council has received with the package, as well as what was available to the public. That would be my suggestion, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for the clarification, Councilor McGinn.
Councilor Manning Martin.
And I would concur that the applicant can move forward as long as he addresses what has been submitted for public review. And if he needs to submit a revision, he do so in a manner that's appropriate at a later date and give notice to both the council and the public. Thank you.
Point of information, well taken, Councilor Manning Martin. Certainly, Rule 14 of the Council Rules and Orders that if there's a change to said plan, 14 days notice should be given. So you may want to, I would recommend you, to Councilor McGinn's point, to begin the presentation, and if you decide to recess the hearing and continue with new plans, but that's your decision. Just wanted to kind of lay the groundwork why there's some questions on it. Thank you. Councilor Melville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just, as a clarification, the receiving late one, there's some modifications that have updated with the requesting in the actual application, that they're striking the portion of the application related to outdoor dining and alcohol for this particular hearing. That's based on what's in late one. Am I correct? I'm through you to the attorney.
Mr. Panos, would you like to answer?
Yes, that's exactly the case, and pursuant to that letter you received in the packet, it affects application sections 5, 6, 12B, and 12C. The restaurant uses are allowed by right, and outdoor dining in the BC district is allowed by license by the City Council and will be pursued under a separate application because it is an essential part of the overall redevelopment of the site consistent with the applicant's RFP response. The outdoor dining element, however, I need to make very clear, is not before you tonight. Only the special permits requested for, if you receive this late communication, requested for the residential and hotel motel in uses proposed. So that is exactly right. I'm requesting to remove from the application the outdoor dining element.
Mr. President,
Councilman, still the floor.
I'm just reading, because I had prepared to recuse myself, because this was going to be related to an outdoor dining and possible alcohol. So removing that is no longer, so we're just talking about the apartments and the hotels based on this late communication?
Through the president, yes.
Okay, thank
Point of
you.
information, we did already accept late communication number 1. Ms. Hassler, did you want to speak?
I did. So the special permit application that we have, 4A, page 2 of 7, item number 6, state the use for which the special permit is sought. The verbiage that is there, is what I'm hearing, that is now being stricken and replaced by, and this is just one piece, but I'm focused on section 6. And section 6 on the late communication 1 should be now in that section, and that should not be. That's not what we're voting on. This is,
Mr. Panos, would you like to respond?
Just to explain the late communication, I think it speaks for itself. So it's not being, there are things being stricken from the application but not added to it. So for example, section 5, and I'm reading directly from the letter you received.
Council President, I asked a very specific question. I just, I asked, is section 6 in the special permit being replaced by section 6 on this late one communication? I just need to.
Mr. Panos, would you please just respond to the question asked? Thank you.
That is correct.
So, Sasslaw, any further questions?
Yes, and so now we've got 5, 6, 12B, and 12C that are in the special permit application are now being changed because of receiving of late one communication.
That would be the situation at this point in time, yes.
Thank you.
Councilman Manning Martin?
Yes, we just received the communication. We didn't agree to change a whole permit. We just received a communication. That means we can speak on it. So simply by you submitting a document that changed an entire special permit application doesn't change the special permit application. It just allows us to discuss it. I don't know why you would remove the entire language that's before us and was posted again for the public as required, that we would have a special permit hearing seeking the use as read by the clerk into the record prior to commencing this meeting, property for a motel and hotel up to 10 rooms with a restaurant and tavern, allowing for outdoor service of food and alcoholic beverages. As referenced on the special permit site application, plan included here with and use of the property for 3 one-bedroom apartment dwelling units as referenced in special permit site plan filed herewith on 2 Washington Street. So you've changed this entire thing that has been out to the public and has been before us because you want to remove outdoor dining service, which is allowed in that zone, but there's still a process by which it's approved currently. So I don't have any idea what's behind that being done. All these changes at the last minute. I am actually pretty upset that this has happened tonight because I'm 110% behind this project. And I want to remain behind this project. The city has done too much over the years and invested so much into that property and revitalization of downtown for this project to go down the drain because of its presentation. It just hasn't been done right. So I'm really upset about this because I want to put my full support behind this project. And it's just not starting off right, and I think we need to fix it before we move forward so that we aren't caught up in technicalities, run into more lawsuits, because the I's have not been dotted, the T's have not been crossed. So, Mr. Panos, you have a lot of experience at these boards. I would suggest we take a recess and see if you can come up with a solution to move forward without hurting this application and starting afresh. That is my recommendation. I'm extremely upset that the council has been put in this position after everything that we've been doing and all the support we've gotten and given in the revitalization of downtown, specifically with this project, for it to start off on this foot. It is a bad foot. So I'm going to make a recommendation that we take a 5-minute recess, Mr. Pano, so you can speak with your client to see how you can save this situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Martin. We'll take a 5-minute recess, and certainly, Mr. Panis, you may want to just discuss with your client whether you want to recess this hearing and see if you can bring back the material. We want to make sure that all the material is in front of the council and the public and abutters. So we'll take a 5-minute recess. Councilors will please take their seats. We're now back in session after the 5-minute recess. Mr. Panos, we're now back in session. We'll take a 2-minute recess again. We're now back in session. With the applicant or his representative please come to the podium, please? Mr. Panos, just wanted to know what you've discussed it with the client.
Yes,
what
we'd like to request a continuance so that we would be put on your next agenda in 2 weeks from now.
Councilman McGinn, would you like to make the motion?
Yep, so moved. Request a continuance for this matter to be taken up at the next city council meeting. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you. We'll now move to hearing 4B. The clerk will please read the notice. Councilman McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, the property owned by my wife and I at 8 Park Street directly abuts 43 Main Street. I am choosing to recuse myself from the City Council debate and vote on the special permit matter before the City Council tonight in order to avoid the potential of a conflict of interest. Given the prospect that the City Council deliberations may result in an outcome that could affect the final interests I possess as a property owner, I do not want to even raise the prospect of any appearance of impropriety. Given the juxtaposition of my home being located directly next to 43 Main Street, parcel identified in the application before the City Council, such circumstance distinguishes this situation from my job as a City Councilor to act upon other similar matters in the area or in my ward. I do, however, retain my right to provide information and to speak before the Council as a member of the general public, area resident, and a butter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Milligan. We'll give you a few moments as you leave the room. The clerk will read the notice, please.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as the special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, September 9th, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom on the application from Sarah Narkis, care of Oleo, 43 Main Street, Peabody, Mass., for a special permit requesting to amend Special Permit 4-2018, specifically to amend conditions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11, 13, 15, 16, and 17 at said 43 Main Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under City Calendar on the homepage, or contact the City Clerk's office. Zoom information will not be available until the Friday before the meeting. Peabody City Council, Councilor Mark J. O'Neill, City Council President.
Thank you. Would the applicant or their representative please come to the podium, state their name and address for the record, and give us an overview of your request?
My name is Sarah Narkis, and I'm the owner of 43 Main Street in Peabody. Do you want all of our... Just me.
Thank you. I guess I just wanted to, you could state your, you stated your name. With the other people who may want to come up to speak in favor of it, they can do that at that time. But just, I guess you may be the principal speaker if you would just want to give us an overview of your request.
May I take this off just for this part or no?
We're all wearing masks, so I guess just for good health, everyone could wear it, please. Just make sure you speak into the microphone so we can all hear you. Thank you.
Good evening. My mom, Ellen, and I are back before the council for an amendment. Why are we here? We are here to ask for a hearing for our business. We are limited by the current permit that we hold. And we were doing just as we were instructed in 2018 when our initial 17 condition permit was granted, which was to come back after we were up and running, and the highly conditioned permit could be revised at that time. A lot has changed in the 3.5 years since we first stood before you. In February of 2018, we had not yet bought our property, and we did not even have a name for our business yet. Since then, we have sunk millions of dollars into a building that had been abandoned. Against significant odds, we have built an incredibly successful business and a boon for downtown. Our event venue has survived a pandemic, which effectively prohibited gatherings from taking place indoors for over a year. And we learned a lot about how to run our business and about how to operate in Peabody. Back in 2018, the building's purchase was contingent on a special permit from this council, and we were under significant pressure at that time from the property sellers. We were told by Councilor McGinn that he would write our permit conditions, and then the council would approve it. That sounded great to us. We had some concerns about the permit condition wording, but we were told we could come back before the council once we were up and running to reevaluate and revise if needed. At the time of that original hearing in 2018, the biggest concern voiced about our business by the council and neighbors was parking. That has not been an issue for our downtown visitors, residents, other businesses, or for our success. Our permit with its 17 conditions was approved unanimously. Just a few months later, as soon as we launched our business, began our renovation, and began to book clients, we recognized that our permit was going to constrain us significantly in potential bookings and revenue. I first approached Councilor McGinn in October of 2018, just 5 days after our business launched, to request his support and guidance on how to go about modifying the conditions that most constrained us. I followed up with the ward councilor more than a dozen times over the course of 2 full years, most of the time without a reply. As such, we decided to move forward with filing our requested amendment independently. We have wonderful partnerships with our neighbors and other city businesses, and we feel very supported by City Hall. We had no reason to believe that this permit amendment would be an issue. And our goal is to revise the permit so that the terms have practical application in relation to conducting our business and to not be redundant with state laws. So we are back before the council, just as we were told, for our fair hearing. Realistically, what will change with this amendment? Not much will change for our neighbors. The majority of our bookings at Olio, about 70%, are on Friday and Saturday dates, which we are not requesting to modify in any significant way. In fact, we are reducing those hours. Of the 130 events that we have had in the past few years, just 26 of those were on weekdates, and only 10 of those were in the evening. We have lost opportunities due to our current restrictions, including Jewish weddings, which almost always take place on Sundays due to the Sabbath, and nonprofit gala events, which are on weekday evenings. So while the change itself is quite small, it will open up additional revenue opportunities for us. We are proud to be located in downtown Peabody in our central business district. We will continue to work to revitalize downtown and bring in people, which, yes, will result in some noise as people walk to their vehicles and use our property. And that, to us, sounds ideal. There are residential neighbors in the business district, but we have never received a noise complaint, with the exception of the sitting ward councilor who lives adjacent to our property. In closing, our historic building was built in 1910 as a noisy theater full of live music. We are proud that we have partially restored its original use, and our special downtown in Peabody has a lot of issues that the city and businesses are and should be working to address. Noise from our business should not be the primary concern. We believe in the vision of a booming, bustling, energetic, and exciting downtown. Despite a pandemic, since April 2019, when we opened, we have welcomed more than 5,000 visitors into our building. The vast majority of these guests come from outside of Peabody. In fact, we have a brand new impact report from the nonprofit Culture House, which identified opportunities and challenges for downtown following their pop-up this summer. In their objective opinion, community members are seeking a lively downtown, but there are challenges and barriers at stake in this city. In an extremely relevant observation, they stated in the report published just last week that more frequent events would draw in surrounding communities and create friendly, visually appealing, and exciting streets. Foot traffic created by events would allow businesses to expand their hours, which would attract more people to downtown. I would also point out the letter of support included in your packet from Drew Levin, the city's senior planner. In Drew's words, we have played a critical role in the revitalization efforts of downtown, including creating vibrancy. Our project is directly in line with the city's 2005 plan, which called for a major people generator in a centralized location that will help establish downtown as a destination. Before my mom and I made this massive investment, we spoke to over 100 people and departments and neighbors over the course of an entire year, introducing ourselves to Peabody and asking a lot of questions. We decided to make this immense leap, and the city was overwhelmingly supportive back in 2018, including providing a critical $500,000 loan through the Community Development Authority, without which we never could have moved forward. We were and remain extremely grateful for that financial support. We are back here because the conditions on our permit are cumbersome, confusing, prohibiting success, and out of line with what should be expected on Main Street. We are standing before you, having done exactly what we said we were going to do 3.5 years ago. And we are trying to build some success in spite of some incredible odds against us. So regardless of any opposition that we may hear, my request to you is that you evaluate this proposal in front of you objectively and on its merit. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, Ms. Narkis? I didn't know if your associate wanted, okay, thank you. Are there any members of the general public who'd like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening again, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about our Main Street business community and specifically about Sarah Narkis and the impact Olio has had on our downtown revitalization efforts. First, I need to take a step back. I promise I will be brief because I certainly can speak at length about our downtown revitalization efforts, but there are some things I would like to say. 10 years ago, we made Main Street and our downtown a priority. For decades, we were plagued by major flooding events that shut down the business community for days, even weeks, remembering back to the Mother's Day storm of 2006. I remember that well. I was a young business owner on Main Street at 30 Main Street for many years before becoming mayor. Our downtown streets were unsafe for drivers and for pedestrians. Major buildings had been vacant for years, even decades, and quite frankly, the look of Peabody downtown was poor and run down. We as a city, my office, the City Council, with support of many others, made a commitment to change the narrative and make a real investment in our Main Street downtown area. We entered into a two-phased redesign, primarily funded through state funds, but included millions of dollars in city funds, which worked to make our downtown safer, more attractive, and created a better environment for our business community. That redesign included major flood mitigation projects, specifically building water retention areas to catch water before it flooded downtown. We have been tested recently with some major storms, but without question, those investments have paid dividends, and our ability to handle major water events has dramatically improved. The change over the years is a tribute to all of us collectively. That investment has made an incredible difference in the investment we have been able to bring to Main Street. Let's just look at the odd-numbered side of Main Street. You all remember what was there before. Now look what we have. Just going down the street, Stanzi's, La Siesta, Brothers Deli and Restaurant, which we were able to bring back, Barbershop off the square, Maki Sushi, which just went through enlargement of their facility, Create and Escape, Breaking Grounds, also the Black Box Theater just around the corner on Foster Street, The Next Mex Thing, Granite Coast Brewery, and the expansion of Gallo Nero. Not to mention the incredible future project at 2 Washington Street. And I'm getting ready to shortly announce that Peabody's Children's Museum will be coming to Main Street. And one of the biggest difference makers has been Olio and the investment Sarah Narkis and her mother, Ellen Bash, have made. What was once a dilapidated, old, mostly vacant building is now an amazing event space that is bringing hundreds, even thousands of people to Peabody. Sarah took a chance on Peabody, and she has backed up everything she has said she would do. COVID has changed our world, and its effects have tested the limits of businesses across our country. Each of the businesses I mentioned, and all the ones I didn't, have been fighting for survival every day during these tenuous times. I'm proud of the efforts we have made together here in Peabody, my office, City Hall, and you as city councilors, to support the business community during these heartbreaking days. Last year, our Community Development Authority approved grants totaling more than $350,000 for 110 small businesses, many of them on Main Street, to help during the state's reopening process. We worked together to create the city's outdoor dining initiative, which enabled 18 restaurants to expand their seating capacity, increase revenues, and hire back laid-off workers. And we have extended that initiative, and I hope we make that permanent. We need to continue these efforts to help our business community where we can. One of the true blessings we have in our Main Street downtown area is that it is mixed development of commercial and residential, which I believe is crucial for a successful downtown, where the businesses and the residents support one another. We want to help our businesses, yet it is critical to support our residents' quality of life. Sarah has brought forward a request to amend her special permit this evening. Her investment, her success, and her leadership in the business community certainly warrant careful consideration of her requests, and I'm hopeful that a healthy balance between our residential and business community can be reached. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Betancourt. Would anyone else like to come and speak in favor of this application? Once again, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Julie Daigle. My address is 21 Fay Avenue. I'm a lifelong Peabody resident. I've worked for the city of Peabody for 20 years. 10 years ago, as the mayor had mentioned, I was lucky enough to be involved in a Brownfield Economic Development Committee. And since then, it's morphed into Main Streets, and we've probably spent thousands of hours working to get to exactly this. This was a pipe dream years and years ago. I had a lot more of detail to describe, but the mayor and Sarah did a much more eloquent job of explaining it, so I won't repeat any of that. But I am proud that Olio is downtown. I think what happens tonight sets the tone of how this council is going to treat businesses downtown and in general. As the as executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, I can attest that over last summer, COVID devastated the mall and the downtown, and we're really lucky to still have the businesses that we have here today. And I think we should welcome any opportunity that you have the control to do, we have the control to do, to help them expand and attract other businesses that want to be a part of a multi-destination downtown, not just one stop. You know, we worked for years on the low-lying fruit, and now this is a big one that we got. And, you know, this is a score for Peabody. I would hate to see Sarah look in another community. I'd hate to see other projects turn this away because they're following what is and isn't happening and because they're not allowed to stay open late, similarly to other businesses that are allowed to by right. So I am in complete support of this. I look forward to hopefully working with Olio and other businesses downtown in the future and partnering to what we started doing with Mayor Betancourt, even Mayor Bonfanti, over 10 years ago to help. I walk the downtown daily, and I'm proud to live in Peabody and be a part of it, so I hope we can help her succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak in favor? Once again, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening. My name is Bukia. I am a Peabody resident. I live at 18 Hilltop Drive. I would like to first thank Sarah Narkis and her family for choosing Peabody as a home for their business. And as part of the effort to revitalize our downtown, I met with the Peabody Downtown Business Coalitions, and I love their vision for Peabody. And I think, I'm hoping that the council will take into consideration the amendment that they are proposing to make our downtown a more active downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak in favor at this time?
Good evening, Council. My name is Paul McGinnity. I'm a resident in Peabody, 13R Main Street. I also own two businesses, Barbershop Off the Square and North Shore Barber Supply. I'm here tonight as a resident, but I've experience with business as well, as does Olio, and I commend them for making an investment that was public knowledge and spoken of earlier. But what a lot of people don't know is what they do outside of their business. You know, Mayor Betancourt made some good points as what I remember when I came 7 years ago about, you know, vibrancy, upbeat, a safe, comfortable downtown. And I live above my businesses. I live in downtown as well, and I've seen that over the years since I've been here, and that's a good thing. And I've seen that with Olio, with Sarah and her mother Ellen, and they've contributed. I'm familiar with a lot of people here because I've gotten involved in the community. I've gotten involved with City Hall. I've gotten involved with a lot of things. My family's here. They're involved in public schools. Sarah's done the same thing, and I want to commend her on that. She's gotten involved in a lot of different things. She started a downtown business association or a group meeting that we meet up and we get familiar with each other. And that's a good thing for people to get to know each other downtown, feel comfortable, communicate with each other, to support each other, like I'm seeing tonight with many businesses and residences here for them. You know, they've contributed to the community as well by having events, by doing things different, but also, you know, they're adding to that vibrant and that safety. I shared a story earlier where am involved in a city project, Adopt an Island program. I take care of my islands that I adopted, which are at the parking lot of Walgreens and Main Street. I water my flowers every night that I plant, and the city provides a sign, and it's a fantastic program. I think it's great. It makes downtown look really nice. Well, when I'm down there, what I see sometimes in the evening, when I go down in the evening, late night, is people walking around dressed up nicely, giggling, laughing, in dresses and suits. And I know exactly where they're coming from because I'm standing here and Oleo is this direction, and they're coming from Oleo. They're coming from the Oleo building from an event, and they're patronizing downtown. And to touch on people before, it was a distressed downtown when I got there. I was at many meetings before Stanzies, before all these things came into place. And to see that is nice because with my barbershop, I have a lot of Peabody residents, and a lot of them say the same thing. And it troubles me a little bit. I wish I had more money to do more. They come downtown for one specific reason, and they leave. So to see people coming in, people involved, making a big investment to buying property, not just, dropping a business in there, I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot as a resident because it makes me feel comfortable. It makes me want to go out and do stuff. You see people walking around having a good time. It attracts you. It gets you curious to things. And that's why I'm here tonight. I mean, people have made a lot of good points. I wanted to talk about the way that they are involved in business and community, and they recently, joined the Chamber of Commerce, which I'm heavily involved in as well. And I think that was a great move. Just another avenue to show you they're continuously trying to do positive things in the community and the city as a whole. And I just wanted to come tonight to support Sarah and her mother Ellen with Oleo.
Thank you. Next individual.
Hello, my name is Wendy Ladoff. I own a craft studio on 71 Main Street. I'm here to show my support for Sarah and her mom in Oleo. I started my business 3 years ago on Main Street, and it was before Oleo was there. I can't begin to tell you how much Sarah has helped my business and the community. She has the elevated customers that she brings into her clientele to her place is just incredible. Not only you will find that we are business owners on Main Street, but it's a kinship. We help each other out, especially this past year and a half. We are very passionate about helping each other out. Sarah sends people my way. She is a cheerleader and champion for Main Street. She has people who she'll send to Bob to get their hair, Paul, to get your hair cut. She sends them to me to work on some signs. It is a total partnership, and we support each other. Not only do I have a business on Main Street, I live in Ward 2. I can walk to my store. I am at my store late at night, and I love, just like Paul, seeing people dressed up in gowns and tuxes walking by Main Street, seeing a bride in her groom on Main Street showing and taking pictures. It's just, this is what we dreamed Main Street would be. And like Sarah, when she has customers that come from all over Massachusetts, and I know that because they stop in my store, and the first thing I ask is where they're from. They're coming from Framingham, they're coming from South Shore, they're coming right out of state from Florida to have their event in Peabody, which is remarkable. So she has my full support, and I think we all should have the support of supporting Sarah in this business. And the request is minimal, and especially as a Ward 2 resident, it's something I am completely behind. I would like to also note that you did have other business owners here, but we ran late tonight, so some people had to leave. But the support is out there. I know myself, as soon as I heard about this, I am someone who loves to rally in my community. I grabbed a petition, and within an hour on Main Street, I got about 10 signatures or so. And they were business owners, they were people who live on Main Street. I directly asked the question about could they hear noise. They love seeing people dressed up. They had no problems with any noise. And it was just incredible, the support. Just that quickly I was able to get. Had I had more time, I would have knocked down the pavement for days to help out Sarah. She's just someone you want to get behind and support, and I hope you guys will support her.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Karen Marie Cohen. I live on 43 Linfield Street in Peabody. I'm not Peabody born and bred. I come from originally Quincy, big city. I don't go to Peabody downtown often unless I have to do my banking or drop my shoes off to be stretched, or used to be down the area a little bit more often when I attended Center Church on Washington Street. It's kind of been blah and boring down there. There's not much to do. I met with Sarah. I've toured Olio. I've seen what how that building's actually made, how it was made a long time ago. And I can't see there being much for noise issues unless they have windows wide open and a lot of windows. It brings a very different clientele to Peabody and opens us up a little bit more and brings a different type of people, a higher, better type of people who are going to be willing to spend money in our community. A number of our businesses over the last year and a half have suffered tremendously from the loss of income and still had to take care of their responsibilities. This is just one way to improve on that and support the businesses in that downtown area. I really hope that the City Council will go along with their requests. I can't see it doing anything but benefiting the city. I can see a lot of really positive things for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilors, my name is Matthew McGavro. I'm a resident of 9 Trophin Lane and a Ward 2 resident. I'm also a volunteer of Peabody Main Street. I'm here tonight in favor of Olio, in full support of Olio. Sarah and Ellen have energized what was a historic and a vacant building in downtown Peabody. Their business brings many people, as you've heard tonight, from outside of Peabody to our downtown and provides them with a beautiful space to celebrate the most special moments in their lives. Now, I have no problem with Olio being allowed to stay open later into the evening, so long as they respect their neighbors. And so far, they have been proven to be respectful neighbors and upstanding downtown business owners. They've supported many other area businesses and have been involved in Peabody Main Streets. They held community events, and they generously hosted Peabody's first LGBTQ Pride celebration in 2019. There are other businesses in Ward 2 and in downtown Peabody who host late hours during the week, including until 1 a.m. I think it is only fair that Olio be allowed to operate late at night as well. This business, like many other event venues, was especially hard hit by the pandemic. I believe our community should support these two women just as they've supported the downtown. I believe by denying them these amendments, we send a discouraging message to other small businesses and individuals looking to do business downtown. Thank you for this opportunity, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Peabody Council. Good evening, everyone. My name is Manny Machado. I live at 20 Reynolds Road, Peabody, Mass. I'd like to say I'm a lifelong resident of Peabody, but I was born in a different country. So when I came here in 1984, I had some family here in Peabody and lots of family in Lowell. I had the option. My parents asked me, where would you like to live? I immediately fell in love with Peabody. And I've walked. I lived in Tracy Street, lived in Washington Street, and I've walked all around downtown Peabody. As I grew up and I worked onto other cities, I found that other cities had a beautiful downtown. And at one point, I was envious. Now, I see that our city's coming up to compete with some of these other cities, and I'm very proud to be a Peabody resident. I think this is all possible through all the businesses that have come into downtown, that have ventured and have taken a chance to be part of Peabody. And I think that is the reason why today I feel proud, and every Peabody citizen should be proud to be a Peabody citizen. Sarah and her mom have done a great job. I'm also a small business owner. We have had some interactions with them. I must tell you, they are very professional, and they adhere to all the rules that they write and specify. There is no breaks. They're very professional business people, and I think they play a big role in the revitalization of downtown Peabody. So therefore, I'm here to show my support. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor? Seeing no one, I'm going to go to Zoom. We're going to, if I can see on the Zoom screen, Roxanne Torelli, if you'd like to speak in favor of this application, please state your name and address for the record.
Hello?
Good evening. We can hear you.
Good evening. Yeah, I'm just trying to unmute it. Okay. My name's Roxanne Torelli. I'm a Peabody resident. I live in Cedar Pond Village off of Linfield Street. I have a catering company in Hamilton, and we are one of Sarah's vendors. Not only do I live in Peabody, I am on the Peabody Area Chamber of Commerce. I just sponsored their shindig over at Smith Barn last month as well, so I'm a major contributor. I've contributed to the YMCA for their upcoming auction. We have donated a party of 20, and we support Haven for Hunger as a catering company as well. My business in Hamilton, Gourmet Delights Catering, is one of Sarah's vendors at Olio. It has been an important part of our business, especially during COVID when there was so many restrictions on events. We could have small events at Olio, which we were fortunate enough to do a few micro weddings, which was a new name that came up, a new style of weddings due to COVID. Those helped my company get through the pandemic. I also employ about a third of my employees are Peabody residents as well. So me being a vendor at Olio has helped my employees, who also reside in, as I said, a third of them reside in Peabody. Whenever we work at Olio, Sarah has a contract that we sign and a list of all the rules that we must abide, and they all are in conjunction with her rules at the event venue, but also the City of Peabody's rules. She's very clear and concise of making sure as a vendor that we abide by those rules. Also, one thing I'd like to say about the downtown area, I've watched it grow over the last several years as well. And I think that the vibe of the events and the people that it brings into town is very lucrative to the downtown business area. I don't know if you've ever been to a wedding where the church is at one time and the reception's 2 hours later, but it's a huge trend in the wedding industry right now. Most brides, we suggest to our brides that they give a list of places in the area and other businesses in the area that their guests can visit, stop in and have a drink, go shopping, but whatnot. And I believe that, I would imagine that some of Sarah's events bring in people that also spend time in the downtown area before they attend the actual reception. So I'm here to show my support for Sarah and her amendments. I've read through them, and I really feel that she's not asking for a lot and that consideration for her amendments, I hope will be taking into consideration and granted for her.
Thank you very much. At this time, there's a few other folks on Zoom. If you could just raise your hand if you want to speak in favor of this. There is a phone number. I won't read it all, but the last 4 digits are 8172. Did you want to speak in favor of this application at this time? The last four digits, phone number 8172. Did you want to speak in favor of this application? Once again, on the Zoom call, if you could please raise your hand so if you want to speak in favor of this. Seeing no one at this time, we'll ask, are there any members of the general public who'd like to speak in opposition of this application? Are there any members of the general public who'd like to speak in opposition of this application? Please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and also anyone on Zoom, if you could just raise your hand if you want to speak in opposition, we'll recognize you. Thank you. Sir, if you could just press the button and it will light up.
Is that better? Yes? Okay. My name is David Harris. I'm an attorney at 80 Prospect Street here in Peabody. I represent Peter McGinn individually and his wife Jeanette. She wants to speak after me. And they're direct in a butter to the property in question. They're at 8 Park Street, Peabody, Massachusetts. I'm not necessarily speaking in opposition to this. I think that the petition to go ahead at the present time, I think is missing something that, and that creates problems. And quite frankly, I think there should be dialogue from time to time between people before they go before a body, because as I recall reading the newspapers back at the time that this happened, there was no real opposition to it. And I'm hoping I can point out a couple of things here that could have and should have been done, and I don't think anybody would be here tonight. The McGinns were in favor. They have no objection to it with the appropriate conditions. This is to amend this tonight is to amend the granting of the special permit back in 2018. And I want to point out, I think it's unfortunate, and I'm not disagreeing with what anybody said here, but this is really not a matter of what's good or bad for downtown. This is a singular situation, and I think there are some deficiencies in what Sarah, in what she has presented. The original petition was granted in 2018. You're all aware that the downtown business zoning does not allow this to be there as a matter of right. So, back in 2018, the petition was heard and it passed. It had various conditions to protect the residents of a sizable residential area to the immediate back of the property in question. As you also know, the original petition as granted, set forth Friday evenings and Saturday evenings. Those would run until midnight. And the rest of the week was set forth as ending at 10:30. And as you also know, it provided that there'd be about 2 hours to see to the removal of the things that had to be brought in, because there's not a kitchen there, and the way it's operated, I have no reason to believe it's a wrong way to do things, but there's activity, and it was set forth as being approximately, it was anticipated to be 2 hours. So that would mean that on Friday and Saturday night, there would be activity, trash, trucks idling with the engines, people working there, And the rest of the week would be 10:30. So again, factoring in the additional 2 hours, that would hopefully finish the noise or whatever might be taking place after the event itself. If you read I'm sure you've read the current amendment, calls for the midnight operation to be Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. 5 nights that activity will probably not cease there. That was their judgment as to how the time that it might take. And those are days when school kids are getting up early in the morning and hopefully go to bed early enough. But there is a disturbance to that area, and I think it should have been taken into consideration. And to me, it makes no difference. I don't live there, but I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong, and I think they've just neglected these many homes to the rear, and that it should be as it was originally presented, so that the next day after the 2 a.m. activities, it's not when kids are going to go to school, and it's not a typical work day. Yes, people do work on Sundays, but it's not the typical day-to-day activities. And I think it's just something, we're not in opposition to this. And this is not really talking in opposition, but I'm trying to make a positive step so as to allow this to happen. I have no problem with what Sarah wants to do, but it has to be done right. People live there. People live there, and it shouldn't be changed to create the situation that I'm pointing out to you right now. That is really it. That is really it, and I would entertain any questions that you might have. Okay, I get home early. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Did I bring a briefcase up here? No.
Good evening. My name is Jeanette McGinn, and I live at 8 Park Street with my husband, and we are direct abutters of 43 Main Street. My husband and I have always believed that this is a good use for the building at 43 Main Street. I spoke in support of the special permit for Olio at the hearing in February 2018. The conditions of this permit that exist today were mutually agreed upon via constructive conversations with the applicant, Ms. Narkis, with the intent to promote a positive relationship with the neighborhood. For the type of operation being run, we believe the existing hours are very generous. In February of 2018, and this remains the same today, the concerns my husband and I have, as well as our neighbors, is related to event noise, disruption from trucks and other vehicles, and early morning and middle of the night activity that is disturbing to the neighborhood at this time of the night. This space operates much differently than a restaurant or a brewery. Cooking takes place outdoors. Every event or activity has setup hours and breakdown hours in addition to the event itself. Much of the activity before and after an event involves activity outside the building, moving equipment up and down a long metal ramp, and trucks entering, turning, exiting a small parking area. People arriving and leaving the event itself. These noises from these events become less tolerable later at night. Like residents of any other neighborhood in our city, people need a peaceful place to sleep at night. Children, adults, and babies all live in this neighborhood downtown. We go to school, we go to work, and we care for our families. None of us should be bothered by these disturbances beyond what has already been permitted. or should be the enforcers of said conditions of the special permit. While we understand the council is hearing from supporters of this application, it is critical to be aware that most of the support is coming from individuals that don't live in the district impacted by this operation. The current conditions of the existing special permit protect residential concerns while also supporting the business operations. Additionally, my husband and I submitted a letter to the council that lays out details and rationale of why we oppose these changes. I hope the council has taken the time to read this letter regarding the proposed changes to the special permit. Overall, we support the applicant's efforts to run a social function space and community business in downtown Peabody. Thank you for considering my remarks and comments I have made in opposition to changing the conditions of the special permit for Olio. I'd also just like to take a moment to mention my neighbor, Rosa Cashin. She was here, but she had to leave, and she lives at 179 Lowell Street and is the owner of 6 Park Street, a property that also abuts 43 Main Street. She asked me to just tell you that she's also opposed to amending the conditions of the special permit. And on Tuesday, I spoke with another neighbor who lives at 2 Park Street. These are the apartments right above Santoro's, which is directly next door to Olio. And she commented that the events are, just really very loud, and she would not support an amendment to the special permit that extends the hours of operation. She may be on Zoom tonight. She has a young child at home and couldn't be here in person. So, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who'd like to speak in opposition of this application at this time? There's apparently no one else on the Zoom platform who wants to speak. So at this time, I turn it over to Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For some clarity for those of you in the audience, and I believe Councilor Welton may have been the only councilor not on the council in 2018. I handled this permit for Councilor McGinn as the abutting ward councilor. And since then, I have also handled an adjustment to the holiday hours, I believe roughly 4 to 6 months ago. So it was only fitting that I take this permit again for the second time. And before I begin, I'd just like to clean up some loose ends. Mr. President, under suspension of the rules, move to receive communications 8A, 8B, 8C, 8D, 8E, I, K, and L pertaining to this hearing. And those are all letters of support from various residents and business owners.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also have a move to receive under suspension of the rules a letter from Jeanette and Pete McGinn, which is item 8PP. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. Lastly, move to receive under suspension of the rules late communications number 2, letter of opposition, late communication number 4 from the Health Department, comments from Peabody Health, and late communication number 5 in favor of the petition from the Peabody Chamber of Commerce, Beth O'Donnell. Beth Amico, my apologies.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. So with all that said, this was a very difficult permit for me to come back to again. I thought in 2018 everything went swimmingly. Everybody here was happy with accolades. There were very few comments from anybody on this council back in 2018. I believe I did go back and watch the hearing just to remind myself. And Councilor Gould had said that how generous the hours were that we gave Ms. Narcos. And I agreed with him at the time. And I think Councilor Sasslaw did mention briefly that, he if Ms. Narcus thought the conditions were challenging, that she could come back. So I went through each and every condition one by one, and I'm going to have to do that here, and I apologize in advance, and you could all comment as you will. But what I had to do was first figure out why we have 3 sets of hours and remind myself of that. And I'm going to explain it to you very simply. There's 3 different uses here. Number 1, we have an event hall inside, and those hours are set forth, and those hours are fine. And if Ms. Narcus was here just for an event hall held inside, this might be a different story for me, but she's not. She's also here for an extension of hours on what I will refer to, and the council can disagree if they would like, but it is nothing more than deliveries that we are very stringent upon with other applicants. And when you say set up and clean up in the back lot, you have to consider that this is a vacant, empty building, that nothing is in there before set up other than, I think Ms. Narcus showed me she had 10 or so tables and some chairs. But essentially everything for events is brought in before the event and taken out after the event, and that includes cooking equipment, that includes a bar, that includes a DJ equipment. So essentially, it's a delivery, and as Ms. McGinn stated, up and down a metal ramp in the back, up and down a metal ramp which goes up into a truck, with a truck in the back of the building. And I want you to look at the request. The request from Ms. Narcus is for blanket hours till essentially 1 a.m. in the morning. You tell me one neighborhood that you would approve delivery hours at 1 a.m. And I truly respect everybody that spoke here tonight. The only resident of the downtown is Paul McGinnity. All the others live in different neighborhoods. If I told you I was going to allow a delivery behind your house at 1 a.m., you would vote me out of office tomorrow. And these are the things that I have to consider. Now, the third portion of hours is cooking outdoors. So on the first 2, I had some examples to go back to because I was a ward counselor. I went back to Ava's Pastry. I have hours of operation that I set for Ava's Pastry. I also have delivery hours that I set for Ava's Pastry, 2 separate issues. Richdale on Linfield Street, at the request of the residents, 2 separate hours, 1 set of hours of operation, 1 set for deliveries. Both of those delivery hours are 6 p.m. 6 p.m. And we've just recently done this with some other permits and locations. We've set locations for deliveries. So the third set of hours listed here is cooking outdoors. I went through the entire city of Peabody. We don't have any example other than the Smith Barn that is not surrounded by residential and not decided upon by this council that allows outdoor cooking in 7 days a week. It brought me back to a hearing we did with Councilor Sasslaw on Route 1 with the Big Pig, and the neighbors were concerned about odors. And we went through hoops. I'll say Councilor Sasslaw went through hoops to work with those neighbors. He had a day where they were able to go up and examine, or for lack of a better term, I'll say examine the smells and what this was going to be to them. And this is a lot different. That was Huntington Woods, which is a pretty good distance from the Big Pig. I don't know if any of you have been to the Black Box, but I was there Tuesday to meet with Sarah about these conditions. I stepped out in the back, and I'm glad I did. It's only the second time I've been there, so my memory wasn't good. Did I say Black Box? My apologies, Oleo. From here to that first row of chairs are the residences, and it is all residences. Everybody behind there, it's all R2 zoning district, residential. And I couldn't believe how close they were. And we're setting cooking up, and Ms. Narcus would like us to approve till 1 o'clock for the deliveries and the cooking at 1 a.m., feet away from these people's houses, from midnight, 1 a.m. Sunday through Thursday. I know all of you on this council. I know that you all get up very early for work. I personally get up tomorrow. I have to get up at 5 a.m. for work, probably 4:30. If I had a truck behind my house loading and unloading at midnight, 12:30, I would be incensed. And, you know, one of the things that was mentioned by one of the people that spoke was that this sets the tone. It was Ms. Daigle. She said, this sets the tone for how we work to bring businesses to Peabody. No, it doesn't. You know what it does? It sets the tone of getting our residents to trust us that we will bring businesses to Peabody, but we will protect their quality of life while doing it. And this is the hard thing with this permit. I understand that Ms. Narkis needs some additional hours. It would be great for her business. I also understand that the residents have lived there behind her, and because they live in a downtown, their quality of life is not worth any less than what our quality of life is worth in wards 1, 3, 5, 6. If I put these conditions behind anybody in this room's house, including all those people that got up at that podium, they would be incensed and we wouldn't hear the end of it. And, you know, it's nice that you all supported a fellow business. I would have liked to hear from residents. That brings me to when I was in the back of Olio with Ms. Narkis, and I pointed to each residence and I said, do you know these people? Do you know these people? Do you know these people? Her response to me was, no, I don't. She did have some minor information about them, and I said, have you ever gone to introduce yourself to them? No, I haven't. Have you asked for their support? No, I haven't. I said, well, why wouldn't you? I said, because that makes sense to me that you would go to these residents and ask them for your support to do this. And she said, why would they support me? She said, I went to the businesses, not to the residents. Well, guess what? I have to go to the residents, and I am going to go to the residents, and I'm going to defer to the residents on the hours. I don't support any changes in the hours for the reasons I mentioned. These are deliveries. It is outdoor cooking 50 feet from somebody's house, and the hours of our operation are more than fair of what we've done. And I want you to really look at the hours of operation. It's allowed till 1 a.m. on Friday and Saturday. It's allowed till, on Sunday through Thursday. Yes, the event has to close at 10:30. There's another hour and a half worth of cleanup in the building. That's 12 o'clock. That it's allowed to. The only thing that was a real concern was the cooking in the back, which was asked to end at 8 p.m. Sunday through Thursday. Does anybody find that unrealistic or unreasonable that, you know, people should be able to enjoy their work nights and maybe lay down and watch a movie and catch an early night's sleep? But enough on the hours. Again, like I said, it's an R2 zoning district, and I just couldn't support any change in items 1, 2, and 3. I said to Sarah Tuesday night that I have never seen, and I'd seriously asking somebody to answer this question for me. Has anybody ever seen a petitioner send back almost all of our conditions set forth in a permit and say 3 years later, I'd like these to change? Because I'll tell you why that can't happen to any of us, that it's a bad precedent for us to set. What the people that spoke at the podium and Ms. Narkis don't know is many of those conditions, and I'll go through them, were set by our health department, by our fire department, and by our building commissioner, and the department heads, which is why I was so disappointed to see a letter from community development supporting this, because it obviously tells me they didn't talk to some of their department heads, because although there's 17 conditions there, a significant amount of them came from within City Hall. So they weren't made up. They weren't there to be harmful. These were opinions that we asked for from department heads. I digress on that. This is, and I think I brought this up, this is the second time that we've changed these. The first time they were approved, we made a change for all the holiday hours. We were very good to Ms. Narkis, to be honest with you. I don't even know if what we did was technically legal, since we didn't have a public hearing on it, but Ms. Narcus had called me and told me that, we somehow missed holiday hours. I don't ever remember that discussion with Ms. Narcus vaguely, about New Year's. And I said, Sarah, that may have taken place. I'll handle it. And I brought it to this council, and I said, hey, we missed something. This was 6 months ago. We missed something on the permit. Can we agree to adopt some holiday hours for Ms. Narcus? And she handed me those hours, and I read them to you, and you all agreed that we could add those to her permit. And now here we are 6 months after that to change the initial conditions that we set forth. I'm going to move on to the actual conditions in the permit. So 1, 2, and 3, as I stated, for those reasons, I could not support. My job is to work in conjunction with residents and businesses, which I will do, and I think this additional permit did very well at working for the best interest of both. Item number 4, idling. Okay, that's Mass General Laws, Chapter 90, Section 16A. There's no idling allowed. In one of the late communications, our health director requested that this be posted on the property. Although this may seem redundant because it is a Mass General Law, maybe Ms. Narcus and her customers or clients don't know it. So I prefer to have it in the permit for informational purposes. To anybody that doesn't know it, for her caterers, that you cannot idle those trucks in the back under Mass General Laws. I think it's 5 minutes. So I request no change to item number 4. Item number 5, there will be no smoking of any type or vaping anywhere on the property. Again, that was our health department that asked for that. She also asked that the signage be placed. There is one sign back there. It doesn't meet the criteria set forth by the health department. The specific signage that the health department will provide for no smoking areas. This is also governed by state law and expanded upon by the Board of Health of the City of Peabody. Again, I see no issue with the redundancy to ensure compliance with the no smoking requirement, and it was a request by our health department. 6, use of parking at the rear of the building will be limited to use by event staff. Ms. Narcus requested no changes. 7, owners will make ongoing reasonable efforts to prevent noise from becoming disruptive to residential abutters. Ms. Narcus requested no changes. 8, owner contact information will be provided to direct abutters to facilitate addressing issues that may arise. Ms. Narcus requested no changes. 9, there will be no amplified noise or music permitted on the back deck or outdoors at any time. The garage door may remain open to allow flow in and out of the building to and from deck during the hours the deck is permitted to be open. The garage door will remain closed whenever possible to limit noise, and the garage door will always be closed during the hours deck is not permitted open. So the sticking point here is that the deck was never built. There is what looks like a deck back there, but it's really a loading dock, I guess, which in the garage doors became regular doors, double doors. So very easily you could substitute double doors for garage doors, and I'll make an adjustment to that, to number 9. I did ask Ms. Narcus if she ever intended on building a deck. She said yes, but maybe it might not be for 5 years out. But she is requesting this change, so I request that we change that, and I will make this in a motion at the end, that there will be no amplified noise or music permitted on the back loading deck or outdoors at any time. The rear doors will remain closed to limit noise except as needed to facilitate event operations by event staff. And I think that's simply put with the change of an actual deck and garage door taken out. 10, as soon as economically feasible, a visual buffer, lattice work, and/or other will be established around the back deck to provide some degree of privacy to residential abutters. As I said, Sarah did tell me that she does intend on building a deck at some point, and if she'd like to remove any reference to ever building a deck, I'll take it out and I could make the change to there will be no back deck allowed on the property. But what I do need to mention is that, again, this condition was brought to me 3 years ago by our building commissioner as part of Peabody zoning. And these are the things that people don't know when they're requesting changes, and this is why we make the decisions here on what stays in the permit. And I'm going to read that to you. It is Section 10.4D, which states that where side or rear yards abut land zoned for residential use, a landscape buffer shall be required. A landscape buffer shall be a vegetative edge at least 3 feet in depth and 6 feet in height at installation and contain a mix of evergreen and deciduous trees and shrubs such that the buffer shall be site impervious even during winter, as in Section 10.6. A fence may be used in addition to said landscaping. I'm going to request that that be put in the permit, and I didn't the first time because Ms. Narcus was waiting for funding. I knew about the ordinance, yet she did not have the wherewithal to really tend to the back, and I was trying to be compassionate to that. And you know, when I went back to look through my notes in 2018 and saw that I intentionally left that out, again, building commissioner, not the council. 11. All outdoor cooking equipment, temporary propane, charcoal, or electric power grills, smokers, roasters, or similar equipment will be operated only by professional staff and with limited noise. All outdoor cooking activity will take place on, to the extent permitted by fire safety codes or adjacent to the back deck, as far from the residential abutters properties as possible. And as far as number 11 is concerned, fire department request. No change. Read your packets. It's in the comments from the fire department. They requested it the first time. They requested it the second time. Additionally, there is no cooking allowed in Massachusetts on the deck area back there, which makes this even more of a hindrance to the neighbors because it has to be on the pavement in the back parking lot. So there are no changes per the request of the fire department to number 11. Number 12, any lights at the rear of the building will be designed and situated such that they do not eliminate abutters' properties, and all lights at the rear of the building will be off during times that the back deck use and outdoor cooking activity are not permitted except at the limited extent lighting is required by code to illuminate emergency egress and to facilitate loading or unloading activity. Ms. Narcus requested no changes, and I will not make any changes. 13, there is a change. The primary means of access, this is the current condition, the primary means of access in egress of event participants in and out of events shall be way of the Main Street doors, except for the purpose of accessing the back deck, the rear doors to the building.
Meeting.
The rear doors to the building shall only be utilized by event participants as an emergency exit. Now, Ms. Narcus on Tuesday night had asked me if I could consider using the back door for like special guests, like entries from a bride and groom, you know, as you've seen at numerous weddings. So I'm okay with that. So if everybody's okay with the verbiage for number 13, it'll change to the primary means of access and egress of event participants in and out of events shall be the way of the Main Street doors. The rear doors of the building shall not only be utilized by event participants, shall only be utilized by event participants as an emergency exit. The rear doors may be used on an exception basis for a special entrance of, for example, a bride and groom. If that satisfies the need for Ms. Narcus and for the council, then I'm good with it. 14, trash, recycling, and other debris. I can read it, but there are no changes requested by Ms. Narcus, and I will not make any changes. 15, construction hours. I added that construction hours at the time because we had just passed the ordinance at that time, maybe a month or two prior, for set construction hours in the city of Peabody. It was not listed on the applications at the time. Ms. Narcus had a different set of construction hours requested. So for her edification and again to keep everything consolidated for her benefit, I asked that it stay in there. If somebody would like to remove it, I don't see the harm in leaving it in there. It is city ordinance at this point, and it prevents us from having to change condition numbers. But 16, if food is prepared on-site for service to the public, a commercial kitchen meeting the requirements of the Federal Food Code must be installed. A plan review must be conducted by the Health Department prior to start or renovation. Again, initially requested by the Health Department, Ms. Narcus has said that, and the Fire Department. Ms. Narcus has said that she has no intention on ever building a commercial kitchen on site. I think that much as many of these conditions are, they're a safety measure, and fire has asked that we leave them in there in the event that she changes her mind at some point that she would like to build a commercial kitchen. I'm fine with leaving them in there. If it never comes into play, fine. 17 and last, the building shall comply with all current life safety codes that are required by the building code, Mass General laws, and NFPA codes. Again, in your packet, you'll see the fire department has requested that we leave item 17. So this is where I am, and I went into Olio the other day with an open mind. I wanted to try to find a way to consolidate the 3 sets of hours, and I just, there was no possible way I could do it without hurting Ms. Narcus instead of helping her, because, you know, the interior hours are obviously where she makes her money, but the exterior hours are what greatly affects the resident. And I really hope the council takes into consideration the fact that these are deliveries at midnight or 1 a.m. I may have more to say as we go, or if anybody has any questions specifically for me, I'm fine with it. But, Mr. President, I'll defer to the council.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Would any councilors like to speak at this time? Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Ms. Narcus, for being here. Appreciate you coming before us and seeing if we can help resolve things. You're getting rave reviews about your business, and you're found a niche market, I think, that's just fabulous, and I wish you well. I happen to make a living off of serving the public, and I know it's very stressful trying to make a living with all these crazy times that we're in. But I think the bottom line to serving the public is hearing what they have to say and appreciating what the relationship between, in my case, my business and my neighbors. I happen to have a business that is right in the neighborhood, and it's been there for 75 years. And we've been successful because we stay tuned to the people in the neighborhood. And we used to be open till 11 o'clock at night. And by the time my crew got out of there and cleaned up and everything, it was 11:30. And I came to realize after 6 months to a year that I wasn't going to get anywhere with the neighbors and build a strong relationship, because I was disturbing them at 11:30 at night with cars coming in and pulling out and people talking, and noise carries quite a bit. So we cut our hours back to 10 o'clock, and you know, we lost some money, but we built a relationship with people, and we thrive on that relationship because we stayed in tune to what our clientele wanted us to do. They wanted us out of there. And I'm trying to relate that to what goes on at Olio, and some wonderful things have been there, go on there. Brides that I know just rave about how well you do in your personal touch with them. But the bottom line to me is 10:30 at night on a Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, with an extra hour and a half on top of that to move everything out, as Councilor Turco said, is just asking for trouble. It's asking for people to turn on you and not want you to be there, because, as Councilor Turco said, you're 50 feet away from, not even 50 feet away from abutters. I was in the driveway yesterday, and I couldn't get over how close you are to the building as I'm standing on your back ramp, the building to your left, and then the 2 buildings to the right and straight ahead, less than 50 feet. And voices carry so much at night. When there's other noise, when there's no other noise going on, you can hear people not even yelling, but you can hear a low, muffled conversation for a great distance. I think you really have to stick with the original plan, because it's not going to build the relationship you want in the long run, and people are not going to put up with. I know you said you have a perfect track record, and I really believe the perfect track record is because the conditions are working. And I would love to support it, but I can't do it for no other reason than that to me the hours are sufficient in those Sunday through Thursday hours. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I really had hoped we would have more discussion and give this petitioner a fair hearing, and I'm not sensing that it's a fair hearing with being already told item after item after item what's not to be changed and why it's not going to be changed, and I'm not even quite sure if things have been added to the 17 conditions. I'm not even sure what just happened. I don't know, are there 18 now? I'm not quite sure. But, you know, back in, let's see, I was city council president, 2011, we rezoned back in 2011. The council at the time had a very anti-business reputation, and we went through a very contentious, a lot of hard work, probably took 2 years to do the rezoning. We wanted housing on top down in the downtown area with commercial on the lower level. We wanted all this talk about younger generations with disposable income who choose to live in downtown centers. They take Ubers and Lyft. We wanted foot traffic. I remember Councilor Garabedian pounding his fist on the table saying, we need an anchor store. When Brothers left, we lost our anchor store. We need foot traffic and we need an anchor store. Well, now Olio, and it's evident in all the remarks this evening and the letter in Granite Brewery submitted, and as the mayor said, a rising tide raises all ships. Olio's business, vision, and drive brought that to our barren downtown. They are the anchor store. We focused a lot on opening and attracting and supporting restaurants in the rezoning in the downtown. We offered more liquor licenses. We attached licenses to specific sites, such as 2 Washington Street. Controversial. A lot of people didn't like it, but it was an investment with an eye and commitment to revitalizing the downtown. As the mayor mentioned, we reconfigured the traffic. We wanted to slow traffic down. We needed pedestrian safety. We needed safe foot traffic. We had pedestrian deaths and major injuries prior to that reconfiguration. Major controversy. People didn't like it. Many people, especially those who do not live here, got upset because they got tied up in Peabody Square. We wanted to slow traffic down and offer them a reason to stop and spend their money at these new businesses. That as well seems to be working. Councilman Mitsoulas quite recently, and he is a realtor, commented how wonderful it is to see all the foot traffic at night in our downtown, that we were doing something right. And as a realtor, he liked to see that. It only adds to the downtown and adds to Peabody being a desirable location. Something is going on downtown many of us thought we would never see, but we tried anyway. Again, somewhat controversial things, but an investment with an eye and commitment to revitalizing the downtown. We added a new position several years ago, a business liaison, to work with, entice, and even beg businesses to take a chance on our downtown. We made promises and commitments to many businesses to work with them, to cooperate with them, and help them help us revitalize our downtown. Olio bought the building. It's the only entertainment venue in downtown that is owner-occupied. The rest of the restaurants all rent on their storefronts. She's a business owner. She invested her life savings, hers and her mother's, in purchasing that building. This mother-daughter team took a chance on the city of Peabody with their life savings in pursuit of a dream, and in the process ended up saving other struggling or new restaurants and small Main Street businesses with their success by becoming the anchor store that, again, we were sorely lacking in the downtown. Then COVID hit, and hit restaurants and commercial businesses hard. Our CIP tax rate is 175% in this city. Businesses carry a major burden in taxes, and with that rate, in order that Peabody is able to offset the residential tax rate and keep it low, it's the lowest around. While the state and municipalities, such as Peabody, tried to help restaurants survive by lessening restrictions on outdoor dining and drinks to go, the state did not offer any assistance or abatements to commercial properties. So Olio, while being completely shut down, had to continue to pay total taxes, utilities, the city's CDC loan, with no aid. To add to that, while they were closed with no revenue during COVID, as the mayor mentioned earlier, business assessments and building assessments are done. Their building assessment went up considerably while they were shut down with no income, no revenue. Olio is a good taxpayer, currently bringing in $23,000 per year. They paid $11,000 in their original building permits and much more revenue with additional project permits since they purchased the building. We now have a hotel and restaurant planned at 2 Washington Street, another idea and dream that appeared a pipe dream 10 years ago. I commend Mayor Betancourt for having that vision right out of the gate when he was a young new mayor. He envisioned this for our downtown back then, and I supported that idea, although I hoped for the best but expected the worst. And although his dream didn't occur sooner or at the initial location of 1 Main Street, that concept is alive and well right up the road on the corner of Washington and Main. It's not a motel like the old days behind Raymond's Pharmacy. It's not a rooming house that parks all the downtown, but a hotel restaurant that is actually looking to benefit and complement what Olio has pulled off, with award-winning service in the industry, a fancy high-end wedding event venue that people are coming from all over to use for their very special occasion. When this mother-daughter team came before the council a few years ago, I thought and said out loud that your idea and vision was spectacular, and I was hopeful you would attract the 300 people to events, because this is exactly what we had planned and hoped for years. Many residents and some councilors were concerned with the lack of parking, that you would not succeed. In response, you said, "I'm an event planner. People do not drive to weddings and events like this. They take shuttles from hotels and will use Uber as not to drink and drive." And you knew what you were talking about. You were right. What it didn't say out loud at the time is I thought your dream was a big one, maybe too big and couldn't happen in Peabody. But I was going to do whatever I could to support you, as I did the mayor's vision for a hotel, because I wanted you to succeed. We made many changes over the years and set the stage for someone just like you to present a win-win for the city. Olio is a revenue generator, a taxpayer, the anchor store that every downtown desperately needs to survive. I'm hoping this council will compromise. I was hoping this council would compromise to assist this Peabody taxpayer, a key to our current and continued success needed for our ongoing work with the revitalization of downtown. Again, I had hoped that we would be able to better discuss and have open debate on what we could do, what she could work with, strike a compromise. Even Councilor McGinn's attorney seemed to suggest that. Yet the tone that's been set here this evening is no, there will be no compromise. No, we're not doing this. No, 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 no. I've also heard that no one that came up here today were abutters or residents from the area. They don't live there. That happened on Endicott Street. entirely in an R1A district. Neighbor after neighbor after neighbor, abutter after abutter come up and beg the council not to allow that special permit. They were drowned out by about 70 people who didn't live in the neighborhood. They lived in West Peabody. Drowned out with letters and phone calls, and it was Zoom, phone, one after the other, drowned out. About 24 neighbors, abutters, were ignored, drowned out by people that didn't live in the area. This council listened to the people that didn't live in the area then. I don't know what's different about this project. Lynn Street, bombshells in a BN business neighborhood, completely surrounded by R1A, most restrictive residential district. Nothing should be there but single-family homes with where intensive land use would detract from the desired residential are not prohibited by zoning. Yet when that landowner, when he came forward and wanted his business to have an extended, not only hours of operation, but days of operation, this council gave it to him. So it can be done. This council does do it. It just doesn't sound like it can do it for her. Main Street is a BC Central business, which is for pedestrian-friendly uses with mixed-use service industry businesses by special permit, with offices or retail on the first floor and residential above. This business is abutted by an R2 residential, which includes multifamilies. It is true, there is a residential abutting this business. But again, Lynn Street, surrounded by R1A, Endicott Street, surrounded by R1A. So we can do these things again. I just don't think you're going to do it for her. We should have had more discussion, should have been open. She was entitled to a fair hearing, and in my opinion, she didn't get one. Thank you.
Councilor Rossignol and then Councilor Welton.
Thank you, Mr. President. At any time, any one of us could amend anything that Councilor Turco said. We could add anything to this that we choose. If you choose to, Councilor Manning Martin, through the chair, add something, change something, by all means, I'm all ears. That's the first thing I just wanted to say. Second, I absolutely agree with the mayor's sentiment entirely. When he came before this council a little while ago, he said that this downtown has come a long way, and it has. It was boarded up buildings, and it was in blight. And just like the mayor had said, we have Stanzies, we now have Oleo, we now have Markey, we now have Granite Coast, we now have, as the mayor stated a little while ago, a children's museum potentially coming. We have 2 Washington Street, which I was all in favor of moving forward with that if we took that late communication, but we didn't, so we have to push that off to the side. But that's going to be a cornerstone as well. And when, Sarah, I know you, we've had multiple conversations over these past few months. Being the chair of Main Streets, I appointed you to the Economic Development Committee for a reason, because I like your vision. I appreciate your vision. I know what you're trying to do. The council, it's all about balance. It's about balance with the neighbors. It's about balance with the business community. It's about balance. It really is. When you came before us the very first time as far as your hours of operation, it passed unanimously. Everybody's in favor of your business. Nobody here in their right mind wants to see you fail. Everybody, to a person, wants to see you succeed. That's a guarantee. We may all see it a different way, but I guarantee you every person in this room, for or against, want your business to succeed. That's not negotiable. Now, in your proposal, you had mentioned a number of businesses on Main Street. You mentioned Granite Coast, you mentioned Stanzies, and you mentioned the Black Box in particular. In my opinion, Stanzies and Granite Coast are 2 separate organizations and 2 separate businesses comparing to you.
comparing yourself to them. Now, you and the black box are very comparable as far as a business model, as an operation, and if you look at your hours of operation and you look at the black box's hours of operation, because that's really what all of this comes down to. I know that you wanted proposed changes on 17, what is in condition, and Councilor Turco, I think, did a great job kind of addressing each one of these in its specificity and explaining, at least in his words, why, again, in his words, they needed to stay. And I agree with him for the most part. I do. Whether they came from Sharon Cameron, from the health directors, those are in here, or whether it came from the fire department, because those are in here. I think you've done an amazing job developing the Downtown Business Coalition, which I'll be seeing you on Monday, because I want to be part of it. I want a thriving downtown. But there's always a balance. If you go downtown on a Monday or a Tuesday, Stan's is closed. You want to be closed on Monday? I don't think so. They're closed. That's what they are, Monday and Tuesday, closed. I mean, we're not a thriving business. Do they have hours of operation? Yeah, but their business is closed because not a lot of people are going down there. 80% of your business is on the weekend. You said that. And I think that's fantastic. That's when you want a vibrant downtown. You want hustle and bustle. You want people outside, energetic. We had pop-up pubs. We had them, when did we have them? Friday nights or Saturday nights. They weren't going to be on a Tuesday. So we want you to thrive. We want your business to be absolutely successful. The only day that I could see changing to mirror the black box would be Thursday, because other than that, everything else is more or less, to be honest with you, less stringent for you. Your hours of operation are actually earlier than the black box. You go later over the weekend. Other than Thursday, every other thing is actually more restrictive from the black box. And now that, to me, is comparing similar usage, similar venues. So with that said, I am inclined to just keep it as is, the way these are written right now. But again, I want you to succeed. I want you to be successful. I want you to do everything in your power to thrive in this economy, which is an extremely difficult task. If you look around, 2 weeks ago, we didn't have these strapped to our face, and now we do. You know, we're forever changing how we do things. Going back to my original statement, it's about balance. You operate your business very close to where people live. And I think it would be extremely, an extremely poor decision on our part to really extend hours beyond what you've already currently have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rosenthal, Councilor Weltland, and then Councilor Melville.
Thank you, Mr. President. First off, Sarah, I just want to congratulate you on the success. I think it's quite remarkable that you've been able to do this in the short amount of time that you've been in Peabody and have had your back against the wall with every possible derailment along the way. So I think, you know, I'd be remiss to not mention that. I do want to let you know I share similar concerns with the hours of operation extension. It seems, I know there's 17 conditions on there, but that seems to be the one that's the most important to discuss. And I just want to let you know why I have that concern. And to echo Councilor Turco's comments, it's not necessarily the time that's inside, it's more the time that's outside. So if there's a desire to continue to have a discussion as a council on that and what that looks like, I would be fine continuing the conversation. But as is, as written in the suggested revision to the amendments, I just feel that during the week it pushes it too late on the back end for deliveries and things like that. I understand. I don't want to minimize what you're doing in terms of using the wrong terminology, but I understand it's somewhat of a la carte situation. You need a bar, you need a, you know, this type of caterer or whatever. You know, you're part of the appeal for your market is that it's customizable, which I think is great and probably attracts a lot of business for you. I think the challenge with that for me lies in the delivery and the extended hours later on. So Again, I mean, if the council wants to discuss that, I'd be happy to continue that dialogue, but I just wanted to let you know where I stand with this, and I appreciate all of the hard work that you're doing to bring the vibrancy to downtown Peabody, and I don't want that to be lost in all of this. You're a tremendous partner for the city, and we're very proud to have you here, and we're very grateful that you are here, and you're working so hard to bring more people to downtown Peabody. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Welton. Councilor Melville.
Through you, Mr. President, people have been talking to Sarah around, so I'm sure you might have some responses to some of what you heard. I want to give you an opportunity before I comment on what I'm seeing.
Yes, certainly, go ahead. It's still an open public meeting, so we'd like to hear from you if you'd like to respond or offer additional commentary, however, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I think it's really important to point out as to some remarks that have been made by counselors sitting here and by the attorney for the McGinns. There were falsehoods stated, and I feel strongly that I need to correct them because the public is watching this, and they don't necessarily read the agenda and all of the letters of support that went in the agenda. They might have seen people stand up for me tonight, but behind that is more support. And where you stated, Councilor Turco, that there were rules and regulations as part of this packet that came from City Hall, then I think you need to be clear and also state that when I proposed these amendments, the health department signed off. The building department signed off. So for you to state the fence needs to be there XYZ, the building department didn't have any opposition to this. So I think that's an important, clarity point to make, is that these amendments did go through City Hall and they were approved. The fire department expressed some concerns. I'm open to leaving some of these conditions in that the fire department opposed. They don't bother me, except for the fact that they aren't in other people's permits. So, Councilor Massignol wants to point out our comparison to Black Box, and I think it is a relevant comparison because we are doing this, we have the same use code. It's a very similar business. And while their hours are approached slightly differently than ours based on their use versus our use, they have 5 conditions. 5. I don't see any other way to kind of put that out there before all of you except to say, why do I have 17? The goal was to come back here and address the hours. That's why I'm here. But if I'm going to come back before you and address the hours, I'm going to look at the other 15 conditions that some of my neighbors don't have. And I also am a little confused, and maybe this is just, you can explain to me, educate me on how it works here at this council, but Councilor Turco read out all of the different conditions that we currently have, but he didn't read the first 3. And the first 3 represent 4 different set of hours. So I'll just correct you on that one. Not 3, 4 sets of hours. He didn't read them. And you know why he didn't read them? Because they're really confusing. When I sat down with Councilor Turco to try to come to some kind of place earlier this week where he could get on board and support us and we could come before the council with something that you're going to love to sign up behind, he was confused by the hours. And he said, what do you mean you can't do brunch events on Sundays? And I said, well, look at the hours. He says, no, it says right on your hours that you can start your events at 7 in the morning on Sundays. That's true. We're allowed to start our events at 7 in the morning on Sundays, but we're not allowed to use the area we own behind our building to bring in items from those events, not just trucks, vehicles. We're not allowed to access that area until 9 in the morning. You know how long it takes to set up for a wedding? 2-3 hours? I mean, the earliest we could possibly start an event is noon. So we have hours that we're allowed to cook, we have hours that we're allowed to use the area behind our building, we have hours that we're allowed to operate, and we have hours that we're allowed to set up and clean up. I am absolutely open to a discussion on those hours based on concerns that you're voicing, based on concerns that neighbors may voice, but we didn't have that discussion, and my goal was to come here to consolidate those hours, to simplify them. I would like to follow the rules. As you heard from people in support of me, I have a contract that people sign, they agree to follow the rules, and if they don't understand them, if the counselors who are presenting my special permit don't understand the hours that I have, what position does that put me in to try to operate every day? So I think that's a really a relevant point. I heard Councilor McGinn, I heard the McGinn's attorney refer to the fact that we can end an event at 10:30 on a Sunday and then, load up the cars and stuff for 2 hours after. That's not true. if you read the hours and you understand them, you may need a chart or some kind of handy tool to understand what they say, we have to be out of the back area behind our building by 11 p.m. So effectively, it limits the use of our building, as it takes about an hour to clean up from a standard event, to 10 p.m. I'm just trying to simplify so that I can fulfill the commitment that I've made to this council to actually, operate under the special permit that I've been granted. That was a huge part of the goal, and I absolutely am open to conversation. Now, that being said, I heard one opposition today. One. From the ward counselor and his wife who live behind us. I didn't hear from anyone else. So that was my rebuttal to the first half of the counselor's remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Point of information, not everyone has spoken tonight. It's still an open public hearing, so we are having a discussion. Councilor Melva, did you want to add any comments?
I had a few comments. When I've been to the parking lot 3 times since we got this application to basically, this is a difficult one, Sarah, honestly. I understand the industry. I think the description of this being also a delivery and cleanup and pickup is part of your business operation is a major part of this, okay? And I understand your frustration. My view, and this is not how you're currently operating, is if everything was self-contained inside the building, I'd have a very different opinion. The perimeter of the back parking lot is residential housing. I mean, there's a building on your left, if you're looking at it, coming off of Little's Lane, and then you have another house and you have somebody's backyard leading into the back of their house. It's a very tight position. And I've been thinking about this for the last 2 weeks when we got this application, and I talked to some folks that I trust to say, hey, what do you think? Give me some thoughts. Help me out here. And because I was looking for compromise as well. So how can we compromise? And somebody made a great point to me. It looks like you're already compromising a lot of this already for the times. I do think it's a very difficult time, and it's a very difficult location for the pickup and delivery using the catering that you're using. I don't know. I assume that the front of the building is out of the question for any of this, and because that's where I was hung up on the hours. I do understand your hours. I read it, brought it with me, checked it a few times to understand what we're talking about. So I feel very comfortable with understanding what's going on, and I think it is a difficult thing at 10:30 to 11 to clean up and get the vehicles out from the back. That is not particularly an easy thing. But I do see how tight it is back there. And when a caterer is putting away their equipment, I've been there a number of times, and you have bottles. It's not always quiet, and there's some of the trucks can have when they go in reverse, it's the beeping and the other things. And I live in downtown, so I get a lot of these calls from residents around businesses, and I have to deliver the news to the residents very often, saying, well, this is what they can do. The restaurant can be open until 1 a.m. or they're allowed to have karaoke until this is their business operation, and you live there. This to me is a situation where the exterior is the issue. If everything was interior, I would feel very differently about this. But I can't help you with the exterior when people's bedroom windows are literally right there. It's an incredibly tight spot. So I'm sympathetic. I think it's a great business. I'm trying to give it to you straight, but that's my view. So thank you very much, Mr. Council President.
Can I just ask a quick question of Councilor Mel? I understand you received...
Ms. Narkis, please, just to make sure everyone's on the level set, please direct all questions through me. I want to make sure all councils have an opportunity to speak who have not had a chance to speak, and then I'm sure we'll allow you to have a moment, okay? If you could, I just wanted to direct your questions or direct through me. Okay, thank you.
The question for Councilor Melville is, I understand he receives noise complaints as a counselor. Has he received any about our property?
I have not received one about your property.
Councilor Saslar and then Councilor Gould.
I'm just blown away. Anyone here ever hear the saying, you buy a house on a golf course, you might get a few golf balls in your yard? One person, one resident spoke tonight against this. What am I missing? They talked about 2 other people couldn't be here, but what am I missing? You know, it must be so hard to sit there, Sarah. Everyone feels your pain and your sympathy, and they wish they could do anything for you. But no one's talking about compromise. Came right out of the gate. No, no, no. Maybe 11:15 is the answer, not 12. I don't know. But you surely didn't get that from the council tonight, did you? Someone talked about you being in a niche market. I actually disagree. I think you're in a very competitive market, and that's why you need the relief you need. You're not in a niche market. Stanges is closed Monday and Tuesday, maybe because there's no business. Actions speak louder than words. Can I ask you a question through the how many police reports or how many complaints to the police report have come back to you?
None. We have no official noise complaints on record.
No police reports. One resident. Read what she wrote, people. She wrote in her letter, the 17 conditions of our permit application was set forth by Council McGinn in February of 2018. If you read what she said, she needed that permit to get her financing, and she took a chance, and she's back here. Good for you. But I'm sorry the way you're being treated. People say, oh, she accepted the 17 conditions 3.5 years ago. She should live with them forever. Things change, people. We should change. We should listen. You've got the mayor, senior planner. I'm not going to repeat his letter. Everyone else did. I'll read one, though, that I was pretty happy to see come out tonight. Beth Amico, Executive Director, Peabody Chamber of Commerce. Quote, it is clear that they are focused not only on Olio's business, but the success of their neighboring downtown and local community business as well, end quote. Final paragraph in this letter that should have been read out loud, in my opinion, but I'm going to cover it. The Peabody Area Chamber of Commerce believes in the success of downtown Peabody and our business community, and would encourage relief of Olio's special permit conditions where possible by the City Council this evening. She tried to work with Council McGinn for 2 years. He didn't work with her. What is she supposed to do? You have a meet, Councilor Turco meets with her on Tuesday. Sounds like the meeting was great from your point of view, Councilor Turco, but you didn't want to compromise with her. One resident spoke against it. One. I could not speak as eloquently as Council Manning Martin, but yes, it's an anchor store. In Ward 5, sometimes we have business on Route 1. And I've said publicly, and I'll say it again, I understand the fact that Route 1 is sometimes a city road. It's a city issue. I respect that. Guess what? Downtown's a city issue. We've put so much into this. And don't think for a minute that they're watching out there. And I'm not talking about the residents, I'm talking about the developers. They grade cities, they grade political bodies. We had an F, you're right. We've come back. We don't help this woman out tonight, guess what we're gonna get? An F. You want more banks, nail salons, insurance companies. I want investment. That's what I want. I want a hotel that's gonna be a complement to this business. One resident spoke against it. The City Council wrote 17 conditions. I'm livid. I'm embarrassed. We should not be an obstructionist body. We should be a body that compromises and works with businesses. And people talk about balance. There was no balance tonight, folks. No, no, no. The mayor, senior planner, former director of the Peabody Chamber, current director, I'll close with this. Would you rather have the words I'm going to end with, or the words I'm going to close, or the words I'm going to start with? Vacancies, distress, blighted, empty, closed buildings, going out of business. Vibrant, alive, laughter, fun, enjoyable, dressed to impress. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Sasslaw, Council Welton, and then Council Turcom.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sarah, if you don't have these numbers, my intention isn't to put you on the spot at all, but I'm just curious, have you any revenue projections for what that would look like for your business if you were allowed extra hours as you've requested?
Thank you. It's extremely hard to project because I don't know what opportunities I don't even get. I put my hours on the website, so people won't even reach out if they know that they can't party past a certain time. But there are missed opportunities. I can tell you there are local nonprofits that have chosen to move to Salem and to other communities where there are hotels where they can have their particularly nonprofit events on Thursday nights is a big one. It's really difficult to quantify. I could go back and try and do that work.
Again, my intention wasn't to, hold you to a number. I'm just kind of curious if you had any projections. The other question through you, Mr. President, to Councilor Rossignol, just because you seem to have the numbers in front of you, could you read the hours of the black box just so, because it does seem most apples to apples. I just would like some clarity on that.
Sure. Monday through Wednesday, 7:30 to 10:30. Thursday, 7:30 to midnight. Friday, 7:30 to midnight. Saturday, 8 to midnight. No Sundays. No, sorry. 10 to 10:30. 10:30 a.m., 10:30 p.m.
And my understanding is that does not include pack out time. That's everything all inclusive from that.
Through the chair, it's self-contained, and through the chair to you, Councilor Welton, if you look at Olio's, their hours of operation to 1:30, to midnight, Friday and Saturday, and 10:30 the rest of the week. 7 o'clock in the morning start.
Okay, thanks. And the other question I had for you, Sarah, is you had just mentioned brunch. I don't see it in, please correct me if I'm looking in the wrong spot, but I don't see it in your proposed revisions in 1, 2, or 3. Is it possibly there in a way that it's written in? And if so, could you just kind of clarify that for me, please?
Yes, so what we've proposed is to combine our 4 sets of hours into 2 sets of hours. And again, I don't know if we should read them aloud for folks at home, but they are quite complicated to try to understand. So we've proposed hours that we're allowed to operate, and separately, hours that we're allowed to set up and clean up. So what we've proposed for hours of operation would allow us to begin events at the same time that we already currently have. It just removes the obstruction of disallowing vehicles behind the building until 9 a.m. And you can see that on number 3. Again, it is a little bit confusing the way it's written, but there's no vehicles allowed behind my building between 1 and 6 a.m. on Saturday, 1 and 9 a.m. on Sunday, and between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. Sunday through Thursday, and 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and 6 a.m. Monday through Friday, if you can understand what that means.
Okay. And again, I know you haven't explored everything because you've been operating under the conditions that you currently have, but would it be feasible to host a brunch in your current setup? I'm not sure from a delivery standpoint if you have a caterer who's cooking off-site, bringing through the front door. Could you walk me through what is currently possible?
No, it's not feasible because not only are we not allowed to have trucks behind the building, but it states that we're not allowed to have vehicles behind the building. So my staff can't park back there. The client themselves, who may be bringing their gift box and their favors and small items for their wedding, are not allowed to access the building from the rear, which is where we require all loading to take place. We do not have access in the front for loading, as we're on a very tall second floor of the building. I would point out a very concrete example from earlier this spring. While we were largely closed for a year and a half, we did have an opportunity to book a church client. This is a local church that was just starting and wanted to build some roots in Peabody before they decided whether they were going to rent or purchase a property here. And the person who was trying to launch this church reached out to me. Church services wanted to be at 10 in the morning. In order to have church services at 10 in the morning, they have to set up all the chairs inside. They have, some instruments that they bring in for church. They do a whole kids service. So there was quite a bit of, there were a lot of items that they bring in for church service. We are not allowed to have them even come on our property in the rear until 9 in the morning. And it took them about an hour and a half to 2 hours to set up for church. So unfortunately, that opportunity, which represented multiple weeks of revenue for us at a time that we had been closed for over a year, we were able to make some small adjustments, but they ultimately went in a different direction at the end of a short engagement because this was far too restrictive for them based on what was in place. And not only was it restrictive, but we also had the ward counselor. If you look in the packet, and the single letter of opposition from the packet was from Councillor McGinn and Jeanette McGinn. He had taken a photo, which he states was taken out of his bedroom window, and one of the pictures was of that church loading in and out bins within the time that they were allowed to do that, but you get a sense of what I'm up against when someone's watching out their window to see if I'm complying. So that church moved on from the opportunity.
And again, I'm not trying to drill down too much. I'm just trying to get a better idea of the situation. There's no storage opportunity if they were to load up Saturday night, with those chairs so that they could use them for Sunday service or anything like that.
When we don't have an event on Saturday, that's exactly what we have them do, is to come on Saturday to do that. But this business makes, as you heard me state, the vast majority of our revenue comes in on Fridays and Saturdays. So the only way this business is viable is to have single-day rentals. And to do that, you can't rent the space on Saturday at a premium to the Sunday client to come in early. But during COVID, we were able to do that, which is why we were able to have them there as long as we were, despite the conditions we were under.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you walking me through.
Thank you, Council Walton. I'm going to allow Councilman Matsoulis to speak because he's not spoken yet, but then turn it over to Council Turco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be very honest with you, I'm not too comfortable speaking this evening because I see a young lady who's tried hard and became very successful in this city, and that's what we're rooting for. That's what we were hoping would happen. People like you would come here and build our downtown up. And but I've got to tell you, Sarah, and I'm going to tell you why my thoughts are like this. I grew up in this city. 12 years old, I was a shoeshine boy up and down Walnut Street, down Peabody Square. I'm going to get rid of this because the strap had broken. Forgive me. But anyways, and every Sunday we would stop at the Strand Theater. That's your place. And the Strand Theater would be open all day long. And we'd be there on a Saturday watching cartoons. We'd go next door to Santoro's, buy a sub for 25 cents, sit there and enjoy the whole day. And down Peabody Square, it was alive. It was a city. You would think you were in Las Vegas. That's how alive Peabody was back then. There was no North Shore Shopping Center. The shopping center opened in '55. I'm coming way back before that. I could tell you every store downtown. There were 9 kids in my family. My parents would send us to Alpa's. We'd buy our Easter suit. My father would march us all down, give us $1 on Friday to pay it. We would go to the shoe store next door and get our shoes for Easter. And I mean, it was just a great place. And there were all your major stores. You had the Five and Dime store. I mean, those were your anchor stores back then. But anyways, so shopping center came in and it killed the downtown. So I got elected on this council almost 40 years ago, And let me tell you what we've been trying to do for almost 40 years, trying to bring Peabody back to life. Okay, we had a master plan, a 10-year master plan. Every 10 years, I did the 1980 master plan, 1990, the 2000 master plan, every 10 years. And you know what the agenda was, what the goal was on this master plan? Let's build our downtown, okay? And we did everything. We made 2 lanes, 4 lanes, we changed your parking, we put street lights, we changed everything, and nothing worked for 40 years. And all of a sudden, we've got it, okay? But now, I'm going to tell you, and you are one of the reasons that we are successful. Now, but I've got to tell you, when I was telling you I was a shoe-shine boy growing up in this city, I lived down on Fulton Street. It's where I grew up. My friends came from Park Street, Spring Street, Summer Street, you know, this neighborhood here. Let me tell you what was going on at the time. The city was so alive. You had 30 restaurants and nightclubs, bars, call them whatever you want, okay? And they were all on the main streets. And the one thing I have to tell you, and that's what made my decision because I lived there at the time, the safety of the people that lived in the neighborhoods. I was one of them. There were 9 kids in my family, okay? And there were 10 bars on the street. You know, and that was one of the important issues in the neighborhood. The neighbors would come to your elected officials back then and tell them, hey, listen, you protect our neighborhoods. And they didn't ask it, they demanded it. And they got it. You know, I remember Nick Mavroulas, who was a city councilor in my position back when I was about 10 years old, coming on our street and making sure the neighborhood was safe. Okay? Now, I did not study the issue here this evening because I thought this was pretty simple and I didn't know. So I really didn't have the hours of operation in mind, what they were talking about. There were so many things that were going to be changed. I didn't go through the whole thing, okay? But as far as the safety of the residents, you know, if there are hours that need to be changed to protect them, I'm hoping that's the direction we go. And if there are hours that they need to cut back, you know, to protect the neighborhood, I hope they go in that direction. And if they don't have to change anything because they feel that what you're doing, what they gave you 2 years ago, 4 years ago, is probably the right decision that was made at that time. Because I can tell you this, just by judging what I heard here this evening, you're not going out of business. You're just going to get more successful and more successful, you know, and I'm rooting for you, and I'm rooting for you. And if I had a choice this evening, I would just recommend to the counselor, I don't know if he's ready to close this public hearing, but I would say maybe you want to hold off and see if there is any negotiating. I mean, I haven't spoke to Councilor McGinn. I haven't spoke to the people in favor or opposed to it. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Mitsoulas. I want to, as Councilor Turco has not had an opportunity to speak, and certainly he's working this because the Ward 2 councilor had to recuse himself, but I do want to allow Councilor Gould to speak again. So, Councilor Turco, thank you for your patience. Councilor Turco, then
Thank you, Mr. President. I was confused as to who you were allowing to speak, Councilor Gould or I. Thank you, Mr. President. The first thing I'm going to do is ask for a motion to allow the council to continue for another, we'll say, 12:30 by the time we finish the packet. If you prefer a roll call vote on that, that would be the motion because it is after 11 o'clock.
Just point of clarification, we can, the rules state that we cannot take any new business as of 11 o'clock, so we can actually continue this hearing if folks are agreeable. I certainly know it's getting late, so it's only a new order, new business, if you will.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll withdraw that motion. So the easy things I'll address quickly. Just Ms. Nakas mentioned that the health department didn't respond to her permit, and they actually did. It was late ad 4 where they responded to the smoking and the idling. As far as the zoning ordinance set forth in the city of Peabody, that's generally handled during construction. I don't know why it wasn't handled during construction. We generally don't add it, the zoning, to a permit. It's generally handled by the building commissioner when you pull your permits to make sure that you follow the zoning ordinance. But I was aware of it, and you know, I just want to let you know, as far as Councilman Martin's question, the conditions, the same number of conditions, 17. But the most important thing that I would like to address is the assertion by Council Sasslaw and Council Manning that this wasn't a fair hearing, and I was taken aback by it because as I called Sarah last night, I met with her Tuesday. Had several discussions with her. Sorry that wasn't enough time for you, Council Sasslaw, but you know I have some other things to tend to. But met with Sarah Tuesday night. I called her last night and told her that you know I didn't think that I could support the hours, but I also said to her, I'm looking forward to hearing the opinions of the 10 councilors here. Because this was a tough one for me, and this is only my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah, I said to you, I'm only one counselor. I'm just giving you my opinion. I want to be upfront and honest with you before you walk in there. I thought that was the right thing to do. Maybe they don't operate that way. But secondarily, I typed out each condition with the original and the changes, and as you'll see, I left a paragraph worth of space in between because I thought this was a discussion. I thought this is how this council worked. And when I presented the petition, they were my thoughts, and as we always do. Every ward councilor gives their thoughts. I'm acting as a ward councilor on behalf of Ward 2 today. I don't know how it got lost in translation, but entirely, I wanted some discussion. I gave my personal opinions. I thought that was the right thing to do. I actually said that to Sarah last night. I said, Sarah, how do you want me to go about this? I was thinking about going down the conditions 1 through 17, you know, and just, you know, give my thoughts on each one before I open it up to the council. I said to Council Rossignol before this hearing, I'm really hopeful, I really want to hear the rest of what the council has to say, because this was a hard one for me, and I'm trying to be fair about this. And to be accused of that is just, you know, it's totally wrong, because that was, you know, it wasn't my intention. You know, anyway, I guess this is the way that we're going to operate. But thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And by the way, I just want to add one last thing. The reason why the public hearing is still open was because I wanted discussion, and I wanted Sarah to be able to continue to speak to us about these things. I did not make a motion to close the public hearing at all, and I had no intention on doing that. Ms. Naka stayed up at the podium. There's still residents in the audience. I specifically left it open. I could have closed it an hour ago if I wanted no discussion and there was something nefarious, but I didn't want that. I wanted a good discussion. So, and again, I take no offense to anything that you know you say. I know you're trying to defend your business, Sarah. This is more in regards to comments made by my co-councilors. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. At this time, Councilor Gould, I was going to go to you, but Councilor Charest has not had an opportunity to speak, so would you please defer to him? Thank you.
That's nice of you, Councilor Gould. Not necessary, but I'll be brief. Through the chair to Sarah, you've been very successful, and everybody here has been saying you've been very successful. And similar to what I think Councilor Gould did say, is most likely is because you've been operating within the perimeters that you had set in conditions. And I actually am very happy to hear that you had no complaints, no violations. And you know what? That's the way businesses should operate. And we do commend businesses to operate that way, work within the conditions. So that's how businesses should do, and others should watch how you operate and do the same. So that's a good thing. Is it because of the cleanup and breakdown that makes it more of a difficult situation for you? Because it doesn't seem like your operation is the problem, it's the setup and breakdown, right? And I think you might have hinted on it with Councilor Welton. Could you not, I've been in that business for a long time, so I know how it operates, and I do know how loud it gets when you're breaking down a wedding or any kind of parties, especially if you have numbers. Could it not be later or earlier the next day? So if you have a breakdown, we do it at my job. If it's an event that's going past 10:30, okay, we don't break it down until the next morning. When we set up for larger groups, even in the morning, the food is delivered at the time of service, right, which is directly at that time where they can operate and being there. But everything else is brought there prior. So if we have an event tomorrow morning, right, everything is there already. So the operating inside it is fine. Is that a way, I'm probably not saying anything new to you, right? But is that something you can work on more in your situations? I know everything is brought in from outside, and your vendors do have to pay probably an additional fee, but that is part of doing business too. So that was my only thought. Everyone else said almost everything I wanted to question and ask. I do believe this was an open hearing. People discussed, spoke freely. Nobody was shut out. Council President allowed everyone to speak. Very thankful that Council Gould let me speak before he did. That's how the system works. So I do think the system does work. And I don't like it when I hear that it's not being treated fairly, because that's not an image we want to portray when it's, in my opinion, not true. When you called me in the very beginning, I was very supportive, very happy. I'm still very happy. I'm still very supportive of you. But it is, again, as a ward councilor, I get calls when Rainbow Nursing Home is getting delivery at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and their neighbors are almost, at least 60 yards away, and they call me. So it is a difficult situation, but I guess that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councilor Trust. Ms. Knox, did you want to answer the question about operations and possibly, I don't know if you heard the question?
Sure, yes, and I'll just respond and say we are not allowed to have deliveries at 4, 5, or 6 o'clock in the morning per our permit. So, and there have not been any complaints, including the single complaint we've ever gotten from the ward councilor behind us in regards to deliveries. The only complaint we've ever received regarding noise at our property was in relation to the music being too loud. So we spent a lot of time here talking about outdoor cooking and deliveries. There was no resident who voiced that concern here. In regards to your question about can we clean up and set up the day before, we do occasionally allow that. The way that luxury event rentals work is that people rent the space for the day. It's theirs. It's exclusive. We charge a premium for that. We charge $6,000 to rent our space on a Saturday, and you get the space and some tables and chairs. That's the kind of market that we're in. And so that, in order to do that, people need to feel like they have the flexibility to come and go, obviously within my hours. And so sometimes it works out that we can come back the next morning. Sometimes it doesn't. It also depends on my staffing. I don't staff my building from 6 a.m. every day to receive and deliveries and pickups.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Than
Thank you. And turn to Council Gould. I appreciate your patience. Council Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. I should have said this prior. When I first spoke, we owe Ms. Nakis an opportunity to discuss each and every condition. That's why she's here. And I don't think that Councilor Turco would be opposed to that, running this meeting. I think it's a healthy discussion to occur. If that's something that we can do logistically, Councilor Turco, I really think there should be a discussion between us individually and Ms. Nakis with some questions about each condition. I think it's the only true and transparent way to conduct this. If that's okay, Mr. President, I don't know what the means to do that or how we could do it, but I'm open to discussion.
Thank you, Council Gould. The one thing I just want to mention is Councilor Turco mentioned a few moments ago about the time. I certainly know that I mentioned that if we can continue past 11 o'clock, if new business comes up. I also understand that it is getting later. I don't want to stop the hearing, but also want to make sure. What's the will of the council? Does anyone want to take a vote to continue?
Mr. President, if I may, I suggest a recess where we could all start fresh on this, and if that's okay by the fellow councilors and Ms. Nakis, I'm sure would be welcome to discuss this in details, each and every amendment, condition. Is that okay, Mr.
Councilor Turco?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Councilor Gould. Excellent suggestion. Council President, if there's no objection from the council, maybe a 5-minute recess, and then we stretch our legs a little bit. We come back. I don't mind going through again, I thought this was the way it was going to go. That's why I went 1 through 17. So, yes, I have no issue going
I was
through.
actually talking continuation.
You want to continue?
I just think it's healthy. I think it's healthy, but this is your hearing,
To
Council.
continue the public hearing to a later date?
Yeah, just...
I wouldn't be in favor of that, Councilor Gould.
You what?
I wouldn't be in favor of continuing the hearing till, we can continue discussion tonight, if councilors would like.
Whatever the majority thinks, but I just think it's going to go on a lot longer than an hour.
I guess we could take a vote on whether we want to continue. My concern is that we have right now an open public hearing, and people have come and spoken. It's fresh on people's minds, and we should probably continue. But like I said, I want to be mindful of people's time. We've been here continuing to talk about this, so we're open to keep chatting about this. I don't know what the will of the council is, but as of right now, it's only if we start, the rules state that only if we start a new business at 11 o'clock. So we can take a vote if, Councilman Martin.
Yes, I support Councilor Gould's suggestion. As long as the public hearing is open, it's not an issue to maintain it, to keep it open, and we continue it to another night. We just afforded the last petitioner the same courtesy for 2 Washington Street. So again, if we do it for him, we're going to do it for her.
Point of information, we continued the hearing. They agreed to the continuance because they did not have all their material prepared. So it's a different situation. I'm asking whether councilors want to continue with the matter at hand. Councilor Saslow.
I also support Council Gould, and I do think the hour is late, and a lot has been said tonight. I actually think it'd be a good opportunity for Sarah and for maybe Councilor Turco to work on some things. As I said, it's about compromise. That's all I'm looking for. It's late to go through 17 conditions, 12:30. People have to work. I think we're trying to do the people's business. I think if you look at home, people see we're trying to give the benefit of doubt, and just to do it, to get it done and over with, to me is not a reason to sit here and do it. There's been a lot said tonight. We've been here since 6 p.m., folks. We have done the business of the people. We're trying to. I think it's, for many reasons, it's good to recess it. And as I said, it's an opportunity maybe for Councilor Turco and Sarah to maybe come to some agreement. I did say to Sarah when we spoke about it, you had 17 conditions. You have to, I didn't expect her to get all 17. I didn't. But you know what? You got to pick and choose 3 or 4, and maybe you could work with Councilor Turco. And I said that before tonight, and she knows that, and that's the truth. So I think it would be best to let it go on for her, for the council, for everyone. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sasslaw. Councilor Turco, do you have any comments at this time?
I don't. I think I made a motion for a 5-minute recess, but I'll withdraw that.
No, but we should, I know it's late, but we should take a 5-minute recess just for obvious reasons.
Make sure you,
Thank you. We're now back in session. Ms. Narcus, I'd like to turn it over to you, please, for a moment.
Sure. If the council is open to it, I would propose that we continue this in 2 weeks, as it's a late hour.
I had a motion on the floor to continue, if that still stands.
Okay, I'm sorry, I did not hear that.
I'm
So, but obviously the applicant has requested that. The motion on the floor is to recess the public hearing. Yeah, we usually, the phraseology is, this is already an open public hearing, so we would just recess it. Yeah, but it's important to use the right word. So we would recess the public hearing on the motion. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote, please.
Everybody here? Councilors Gould. Manning Martin.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Melville. Yes. O'Neill.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
At this time, councilors, I certainly want to ask what the will of the council is to rather start up new business past 11 o'clock. As you know, it's...
Make a motion to continue.
Yep. On the motion? Understood. I'm just asking any
on the
discussion.
motion.
On the motion, I'm asking for any discussion.
No, we don't want to do reports of committee. We got. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, excuse me. I misunderstood what the motion was.
Make a motion to continue city council business.
Correct. That's what I'm trying to make sure if councilors want to continue motions, resolutions, reports of committees, and things like that. So do I have a motion on the floor? Okay. Motion is to continue this council hearing until we complete. Sorry, we should ask Councilman McGinn to come back, but let's get through this. We have a motion on the floor to continue this council meeting. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Well, it's 11, beyond 11 o'clock.
Councilors Gould.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
No.
Sasslaw.
No.
Welton.
No.
Charis.
No.
McGinn.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
No.
Turco.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Carries. Next order of business is reports of committees. One moment. We'll go to legal affairs with Chairman Melville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will go quickly for my fellow councilors. We had a meeting on Tuesday night. We had councilors Turco, Rozignol, McGinn, and O'Neill, along with myself. Our first item was a discussion regarding updating the municipal code of corporation. And Councilor Rozignol made a motion that was unanimously approved, and the motion is to request that His Honor the Mayor submit an appropriation to the City Council to recodify the city code with an estimated cost of $15,900 as provided by the Municipal Code Corporation. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor, any opposed? It's a vote. Council Melville.
The next item on the agenda was the purchase of city-owned land at 0 Outlook Ave. We had Kurt Bellavance and from the Community Development Department. Holly Hart Todd was the resident from 25 Outlook Ave that was interested in purchasing the property. We had a great discussion. Holly gave us her background and why this property meant so much to her. And we ultimately made Councilor Turco had assisted her, and Councilor McGinn had detailed to her the process to follow up. And the motion was as follows. Move to follow the recommendation of the Community Development Department for the sale of the city-owned parcel known as 0 Outlook Ave. The sale of this parcel should be referred to the city clerk's office for notices to abutters in the event of any interest in the purchase of this parcel, and ask that the purchasing department work with the Community Development Department to issue an RFP or other legal means to dispose of this property. Any surveying or legal work needed for preparation of the sale of this property should be completed by the applicant at their expense. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor, Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you. Through you to Councilor Melville. The property is in an R1A that's wished to be purchased, and I know that the expressed wish of the petitioner was to put in a mobile home on that lot. So do I have that right, or, because there's a couple, no?
She, through Mr. President to Councilman, there's no mention of a mobile home when she was here before us. She was discussing possibly purchasing another parcel to build a home.
Okay, and I raise that because it's on her application that was what she wished to do, is to build a double-wide mobile home. So if it's in an R1A, I would just hope that would have been explained to her that a mobile home is not allowed in R1A before she made the purchase or continued. So I was hoping that was explained to her. Thank you.
Point of information, please, Councilman Martin. Councilor Turco might be able to give a brief mention of that that's important that can help clarify. Councilor Turco?
Thank you. Yes, through you, Mr. President, to Councilman Martin, I did point that out to Ms. Todd, and she actually miswrote it. She was trying to define a prefab house, and she referred to it as a mobile home inadvertently.
Thank you very much.
Councilor Rosenau on the motion.
Just another point of clarification. We also explained to her that there's a number of other steps that she had to partake in to do anything on that land because it didn't meet zoning requirements.
We have an active motion on the floor. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Melville.
Thank you, Mr. President. The item C was a discussion from Kurt Bellavance, a report of progress on a easement for Bartholomew Street layout. It's currently being worked with legal department, and we're expecting a report back from legal with regards to that status, as he is working with the legal counsel of the petitioner with regards to that easement. Item D, right of first refusal for 156 Bartholomew Street. Kurt Bellavance gave a detailed background on this particular item and his suggestion on how to move forward. Councilor McGinn made a motion so that we could dispose of this particular item, and it was to move to recommend the community endorse the, recommend that the committee endorse the approach advocated by community development in the memo from community development dated September 1st, 2021. So moved.
On the motion, Councilman Martin on the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Councilor Melville. Is this a buildable lot, or is it conservation? Is it surrounded by conservation land, or?
Through the chair to Councilman Martin, that was the concern, that it could be a buildable lot similar to the Boulderwood project, and that was the intent, that there's a belief within the administration, through the community development and the administration, that this could be developed, and they're looking towards purchasing it to prevent that from happening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Martin. On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Melville.
The next item, item E, was to just clean up that we had Councilor McGinn. We had the item from Ordinance Amendment, Section 18-20, Schedule of Compensation of part-time positions, and Section 18-21, Rates of Compensation for full-time positions not subject to collective bargaining. This should have been in the Finance Committee. Councilor McGinn made a motion, moved to refer this item E from His Honor the Mayor regarding Ordinance Amendment Section 18-20 and Schedule of Compensation for part-time positions, and Section 18-21 Rates of Compensation for full-time positions not subject to collective bargaining, and refer that to the Finance Committee. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Melville.
The next item was was following up on a previous Legal Affairs Subcommittee meeting. We had it within the department, and Kurt was kind enough to basically was responding to a previous Legal Affairs Subcommittee meeting with regards to the community development's involvement in organizing events within the Wiggins Auditorium. And with that, Councilor McGinn made a motion, moved to endorse the recommendation of Community Development Department on the memorandum from Community Development dated September 1st, 2021. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Melville.
The last item on the
agenda that we moved on was we have an item within the committee that we will be having a committee meeting on that is with regards to a letter from a resident regarding elderly citizens and real estate tax relief. And a motion was made by Councilor McGinn, moved to request the finance director offer an opinion regarding the communications from Stephen J. Jassineri, 10 Wildwood Drive, regarding real estate tax relief for elderly citizens of Peabody, and provide the city council with actions that we can take. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Council Melville.
That is all that we handled that night. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Melville. Could you move to receive communications F, G, and H?
So moved.
Thank you. On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. We'll now move to Finance and Chairman McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Finance Committee met earlier this evening, Thursday, September 9th. Present for the committee were Councilors Gould, Manning Martin, Rosignol, Turco, and myself as chair. All other councilors were present. We had 6 items on the agenda. The first item was transfer of funds, CPC open space in the amount of $300,000, and CPC Parks Restoration Program 2021 in the amount of $185,000. This item was presented by Finance Director Mr. Gingras, and this was to make sure there was adequate funds in the CPC open space account and to fund the open space project for CPC Parks Restoration Program 2021. There was a motion made by Councilor Turco as follows. Move to approve the transfer from account 270-000033011 in an amount of $300,000 CPC unreserved funds to 270-000033021 CPC open space in the amount of $300,000, and also to transfer from account number 270-000033021 in the amount of $185,000 CPC open space to account number 270-1811586222121000391 CPC Parks Restoration Program 2021 in an amount of $185,000. Mr. President, that motion passed unanimously. I now bring it to the consideration for the full council. So moved.
You've heard the motion by Councilor McGinn. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilors Gould.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Sasslaw. Welton. Charis.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Rosignol.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Councilor McGinn.
Mr. President, next item on the agenda was transfer funds, CPC Lakes and Ponds Restoration, amount of $150,000. Was again presented by Mr. Gingras, Director of Finance. There was a motion made by Councilor Gould as follows. Move to approve transfer request for account number 270-000033021 CPC open space, amount of $150,000 to account number 270-181158562 2022-000392 CPC Lake and Pond Restoration amount of $150,000. Mr. President, that motion passed unanimously, and I now bring it for consideration to the full council. So moved.
You've heard the motion from Councilor McGinn. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilors Gould.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Sasslaw.
Yes.
Welton. Charis.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Rosignol.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes. Councilor McGinn.
Mr. President, next item on the agenda was transfer of funds, cable fund expense, $195,000, $195,909.21. That was presented by Mr. Gingras. This is a routine transfer of cable funds that come in from the cable providers in the city to the cable fund expense. There was a motion made by Councilor Gould as follows. Move to approve the transfer of receipt reserve cable fund, account number 270-00003317, in amount of $195,909.21 to cable fund expense, account number 270-00005307, in amount of $195,909.21. That motion passed the Finance Committee unanimously, Mr. President, and now bring it to the attention of the full council. So moved.
You've heard the motion from Council McGinn. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Gould, Minnie Martin, Sasslaw.
Yes.
Welton, Charist, McGinn,
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Turco,
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Melville. O'Neill.
Yes. Council McGinn.
Mr. President, next item on the agenda was similar item to the previous one, transfer fund cable expense for $16,192.89 and $3,598.42. It was presented by Mr. Gingras. There was a motion by Councilor Gould as follows. Move to approve the transfer of funds from receipt reserve cable fund, accounts numbers 270-00003317, in an amount of $16,192.89, and account number 270-00003317, in an amount of $3,598.42 to cable fund expense, account number 270-00005307, in an amount of $16,192.89, and account number 270-00005307, in an amount of $3,598.42. Mr. President, that motion passed unanimously, and I now bring it for consideration to the full council. So moved.
You've heard the motion from Council McGinn. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Gould.
Yes.
Minnie Martin, Sasslaw.
Yes.
Welton, Charist, McGinn,
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Turco,
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes. Council McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next item on the agenda was item E, transfer of funds various. This was a number of transfers that were presented by Ms. Gingras that are intended to be the final transfer to balance accounts for fiscal year 21. There was a motion made by Councilor Gould as follows. Move to approve the transfer of funds from various department accounts on the attached list to the communication from His Honor the Mayor dated August 17th, 2021, in an amount of $189,460 to various department accounts, also detailed on that same communication from His Honor the Mayor dated August 17th, 2021, in an amount of $189,460. Additionally, there was a motion to, or the part of the same motion was to approve the transfer from current reserve golf fees, account number 4406995-42699542602, in an amount of $73,700 to golf course construction items, account number 440-06995-52310, in an amount of $78,800, and transfer from golf grounds part-time wages, account number 440-06995-51120, in an amount of $9,000 to administration clubhouse, account number 440-06998-54230, in an amount of $3,900. Additionally, to transfer from sewer salaries full-time, account number 460-044-005-1110, in an amount of $6,500. Sewer overtime, account number 460-044-005-1130, in an amount of $4,500. And sewer worker comp, account number 460-044-005-1611, in an amount of $750. And current revenue water charges, account number 440-06995-42602, in an amount of $119,000 $35,500 to sewer outside services, account number 460-04400-53125, in an amount of $11,750. And water and sewer compensation, account number 460-04420-51611, in an amount of $64,500. Water outside services, account number 460-04420-51611, an amount of $35,000, and water postage, account number 460-04420-53420, in an amount of $20,000. Mr. President, that motion by Councilor Gould passed unanimously, and I now bring it for consideration to the full council. So moved.
You've heard the motion by Counsel McGinn. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilors Gould.
Yes.
Minnie Martin. Sasslaw.
Yes.
Welton. Charis. McGinn.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yep.
Turco.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes. Counsel McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last item on the agenda was a request for a resolution adopting the special tax assessment agreement for Farm Street Real Estate LLC, special tax assessment agreement regarding 2 Washington Street. This is something that is new for the city. We've not done this before, there was in attendance to explain was the mayor, Maria DeStefano from the state Massachusetts Office of Business Development, who in her information related to special tax assessment program, and the Director of Finance, Mr. Gingras, and the head of the assessors, Susan, Ms. Antonellis. And it was indicated that this special tax assessment is only for 2 Washington Street, and it is for the commercial portion of that, that it runs for 10 years, that it applies only to the incremental value of the property over that time, so that the base portion of it is taxable, is fully taxable at the full commercial rate, but the incremental value is subject to some discounts that decline over the 10-year period. There's some 6 jobs that are tied to this as a requirement at the operation. There were a number of great questions from a number of councilors insofar as we've not done this before, to gain a better understanding, and I think we reached a point where there was a comfort level to proceed with this, and consequently there was a motion made by Councilor Turco as follows, which was to approve the resolution adopting special tax assessment agreement and submission to the Economic Assistance Coordinating Council from Farm Street Real Estate LLC. And I'm going to interrupt the reading of this for a moment, just so we're clear. This is specific to the 2 Washington Street property that was subject to the RFP. And this was contemplated in the RFP. I left that out of my earlier comments. So again, back to the motion by Councilor Turco. Was a move to adopt the resolution adopting the special tax assessment agreement and submission into the Economic Assistance Coordinating Council for Farm Street Real Estate LLC, whereas the City of Peabody is part of a designated Peabody Economic Target Area, and Farm Street Real Estate LLC, a company currently located in Peabody and is redeveloping their property, and whereas a special tax assessment plan has prepared in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 23A, Section 3E, and whereas there is a strong support for economic development and the use of special tax assessment and an economic development tool to encourage business to expand from Farm Street Real Estate LLC and the business at that property. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of Peabody that the special tax assessment be adopted as is, which has been substantially submitted. A copy of said special tax assessment plan is included in the Farm Street Real Estate LLC Economic Development Incentive Program EDIP application and is hereby made part of this resolution. Number 2, the area designated as a special tax assessment zone is defined as the following property known as City of Peabody, 2 Washington Street, tax ID 085-089 in Peabody, Massachusetts. Number 3, the maximum time period for the STA agreement for Farm Street Real Estate LLC shall be 10 years. Number 4, the City of Peabody has authorized the creation of a special tax assessment negotiation and administration committee to negotiate tax incentive agreements for projects. The STANAC is composed of the mayor, city employees, and the city council chair of the finance committee. The maximum special tax assessment exemption for each project shall be negotiated by the STANAC. At no time shall the exemption exceed 100%. Number 6, all STA agreements negotiated by the STANAC shall be made part of the STA plan by a vote of the City Council. Number 7, the special tax assessment agreement shall be binding on all subsequent owners of the property or properties certified by the EACC. The City of Peabody reserves the right to review and renegotiate the STA agreement and seek decertification of the project by the EACC if the business activity ceases to be fully operational during the life of the STA agreement or upon failure of the owner to fulfill its material obligations specified in the STA agreement. Number 8, a copy of the adopted STA plan shall be forwarded to the Massachusetts Economic Assistance Coordinating Council for its approval. Number 9, the effective date of the STA plan shall be September 9th, 2021. And 10, the City Council President is hereby authorized to execute and implement the STA plan adopted this 9th day of September 2021 by a vote of the City Council of the City of Peabody. Mark J. O'Neill, City Council President. Allison Danforth, City Clerk. So moved.
You've heard the motion by Council McGinn. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilors Gould.
Yes.
Mayne Martin. Sasslaw.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
Charis. McGinn.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Rossignol. Melville.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council McGinn. Real brief, we had the Committee of the Whole met tonight in executive session discussing 3 matters. A, Salisbury Roswell et al. Versus Galucci et al. Number 2, City of Peabody versus Story. And C, Oak Street Appeal. We got an update on those matters, and those matters remain in executive session. So that's just a report of progress. At this time, we'll now move to motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Gould.
No motions, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under suspension of the rules, motion to receive items 8M through 00. Motion to receive and enter them into public record. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On suspension of the rules, motion to receive item 9A, entertainment license for renewal for 2021. All papers being in order for Jade's Restaurant, 4 Bourbon Street, Salem Country Club, 133 Forest Street, Toscana's Restaurant, 3 Bourbon Street. Again, all papers being in order. So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Manning Martin.
No further motions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Sasslaw.
No motions tonight, thank you.
Councilor Walton.
No motions this evening, thank you.
Councilor McGinn.
No motions, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman McGinn. Councilman Mitsoulas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion, number 4 and number 5 Walter Road, to remove a handicap sign there.
On the
So
motion?
moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Mitsoulas.
Also, Mr. Chairman, number 40 Tremont Street, to remove the handicap sign in front of number 40 also. So move.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Mitsoulas.
Also, Mr. Chairman, number 16 Winthrop Street, remove the handicap sign there. So move.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Mitsoulas.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, those motions may sound familiar. I made them a long time ago. The handicap signs are still there, and that's why I'm making them again. So I'll just see what happens. Also, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to have Public Services install a sidewalk at 15 Walsh Ave. On the motion, Mr. Chairman. That's a new home being built, and they asked me to see if I get the city to give them a sidewalk, and I'm making the motion so they can get on a list. So move. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Mitsoulas.
No more motions, sir.
Thank you, Councilor Mitsoulas. Councilor Turco.
No motions, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Councilor Rosenau.
Motions this evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Rosenau. Councilor Melville.
Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8J. I believe that was part of the, referred to the hearing we had. And to Washington, yes. And is there anything else, Allison? Is that it? No motions this evening, thank you.
On the motion to receive and refer to the hearing on to Washington Street, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you, Councilor Melville. I have no motions, orders, or resolutions tonight. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. We are adjourned.